Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into the creaking world of ancient canoe builders, where bark textures held more secrets than today's encrypted texts. Imagine staggering barefoot across a volcanic beach, black sand grinding between your toes. Your hands press against a tree older than empires, its ridges sharper than a shark's tooth. Your modern fingers, calloused by phone screens and steering wheels, struggle to decipher grooves that once launched fleets across oceans. Let's be real, while you're debating organic kale chips, these masters were hunting trees that could survive hurricanes. You probably wouldn't survive this kind of grocery run, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I want to see where these ancient tides are reaching tonight. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your fingers curl around rough bark, crumbling like ancient parchment. This isn't oak or pine. It's koa wood, backbone of the Polynesian sailing spirit. Surf crashes in the distance, a rhythm older than language. Those builders didn't just choose trees, they communed with them. Every scar on the bark told stories, droughts endured, storms weathered, roots gripping volcanic soil like desperate hands. You run your palm upward, vertical grooves mean flexibility. Horizontal lines, danger, too brittle for the waves' mood swings. Historians confirm Polynesian navigators settled islands across 2,000 miles using stars, birds, and yes, Bark-Braille. But here's the kicker: modern replicas, built without bark wisdom snap in half during trials. Turns out science still chases what fingertips knew millennia ago. A warm breeze carries, whispers the ghost of a canoe master, mutters listen. Bark doesn't lie. Split a modern 2x4 and it's just dead. But peel this bark back, sap oozes like a living vein. Some carvers swear healthy wood hums, a vibration matching whale songs drifting through ocean depths. Quirky, maybe, but maritime records show whales followed certain Polynesian routes. Coincidence? Or low-frequency duets with resonant hulls? You kneel, moss squelching under your knees. This part's brutal nails dig under bark strips, prying them like reluctant armor. Fibers snap, a good sign. Rotten wood clings to its skin like a drowning sailor. Your biceps burn, no power tools here, just sweat and leverage. Imagine doing this under a blistering sun. No sunscreen, just salt crusting your eyelashes. Laughter echoes your guide. A barrel-chested elder points at your blisters. Start with breadfruit trees, he grunts. Softer bark, kinder to baby hands. But today's test is koa, the unforgiving master. Each strip reveals color gradients, deep amber near the core, fading to sun-bleached gold. The best planks hide concentric rings, tight as DNA helixes. Here's a fun fail. Colonial sailors marveled at Polynesian speed. Yet, when they stole blueprints, their ships sank. Why? They sanded off the bark's wisdom, erased the roadmap. Your thumb finds a spongy patch, rotten core. Failure smells like overripe papaya. Toss the strip. It arcs into ferns, becoming forest again. Nothing's wasted, not here. Twilight slants through leaves. Golden hour reveals bark's hidden textures. What looked smooth now bristles with microspines. You lean in, cheek pressed to wood, and blink. Minute pores glisten, sap waiting for the right phase of moon to flow. Harvest too early, and the wood screams as you carve it. Too late, and it's brittle as old bones. Archaeologists found 800-year-old koa canoes preserved in lava tubes, their bark seals intact. But here's the kicker. Historians still argue whether bark patterns served as actual maps, guiding sailors to specific islands. Your guide swears he's seen spiral grooves matching star paths. But try publishing that in a journal. A rogue wave of exhaustion hits, your head dips. The elder flicks your ear. Sleep later, listen now. He slams a stone against the trunk, thunk. Hollow echoes mean termites partying inside. You swing your own rock, crack. The wood answers solid, a dense, meaty sound. Your chest swells. It's like getting a nod from the tree itself. Moonlight bleaches everything silver. Shadows stretch into long fingers pointing seaward. You're shivering, now damp and salt stung. But this is how it's done. Night reveals bark's true face. Flaws glitter like trapped quartz. That innocent-looking knot, a weakness house spiders have turned into condos. One last strip, you brace, heave, and perfection. The bark peels clean, no resistance. Underneath, wood gleams like wet amber. Your hands shake from strain or awe. Doesn't matter. Somewhere beyond the reef, waves slap against a hull, not yet born waiting. Your fingertips meet coarse ridges, each groove a sentence in nature's manuscript. You press harder, the bark yields secrets like parchment under a scribe's quill. Modern carpenters, sand surfaces smooth. Polynesian masters listened to roughness. Historians confirm canoe builders charted bark's variations long before European paper maps. Knowledge passed through palm to wood contact. A zigzag fissure catches your thumb. You follow it upward like a trail. Darker patches suggest years of monsoon abuse. Lighter streaks whisper of drought resistance. Some elders claimed bark patterns mirrored star paths, a fringe theory your mentor dismissed as moon-drunk poetry. Yet here you are tracing cracks that spiral like Orion's belt. Moisture seeps through a spongy patch, your nose wrinkles at fermented sap. Rot. You recoil, but wait. That sticky film, coastal masters prized certain molds as waterproofing agents. One recipe mixed decay with shark oil, a nautical caulk lost to time. You pocket a sample despite the stench. Science might call it foolishness. Tradition calls it respect. Parallel lines dominate the trunk's south face, a density map for carving. Soft spaces between ridges become hull curves. Unyielding strips form the spine. Historians still argue whether these lines guided tools or dictated ceremonial paint designs. Your chisel hesitates. Ancestors left no instruction manuals, only whispers in the grain. Sunlight reveals what shadow hid, a hairline crack glinting with resin tears. You test its depth with a splinter 3 knuckles deep, useless for sailing, but perfect for fire starting kits. Nothing wasted, even flaws serve. Your nail catches on a peculiar texture, scales overlapping like fish armor. Breadfruit? No. Too rigid. The realization hits, ironwood masquerading as its cousin. A novice's trap. You mark the trunk with charcoal, a warning for future gatherers. Some say mimics evolved to deter overharvesting. Others blame lazy gods copying homework. A faint hum vibrates through the wood, beetles tunneling beneath. Dead giveaway. You press your ear to the bark. Their chewing fades westward. Time spares no claimant. You etch a symbol 2 handspans up, safe zone for tomorrow's harvest. Sudden smoothness interrupts the tactile symphony. A plaque of lichen colonizing the north side. Scrape it away, greenish streaks underneath. Copper deposits, volcanic minerals. Debate rages about intentional metal trap, trees versus natural quirks. You lick the streak, regret instantly. Bitter, metallic, definitely unnatural. The lower trunk tells 2 stories, flood lines from childhood monsoons, and fire scars from adolescent lightning strikes. Charred sections feel leathery, oddly flexible for their trauma. Your mentor's voice echoes, bend before you break, a carpentry mantra and life philosophy. Dusk transforms your touch, cool bark warms where the sun lingered. Thermal memory guides your palms to ideal stripping points. Modern laser thermometers might scoff. Your ancestors needed only calloused skin. You step back, eyes closed, reconstructing the tree's map through touch alone. Ridges become elevation lines. Soft spots mark safe harbors. Open debate simmers. Did navigators borrow these tactile maps for voyaging? Or was bark reading its own separate priesthood? Your final test, dragging a seashell across the trunk. High-pitched screech means dense grain, low growl signals porous ruin. The shell sings middle C, a resonant compromise. You smile. This tree won't cross oceans, but it'll birth buckets, bowls, 100 humble heroes. Salt wind riffles nearby palms, applause from the unseen audience. Your fingers cramp. Your shirt sticks with dendrological evidence. Tomorrow brings a new tree. Tonight's discoveries already hardening into instinct. Your knife finds the first sacred candidate. Caw bark scrapes back like burnt parchment. Coarse as shark skin, perfect for hulls that shrug off coral kisses. Hawaiian royals demanded koa canoes. Historians trace this preference to 14th century, chiefly rivalries. You smirk, dead kings cared about nautical speed, like modern CEOs crave private jets. Breadfruit bark greets you next, spongy and warm. Fingernails sink in sap oozes like tapioca glue. Island legends claim the gods hid sailors' souls in breadfruit trunks, hence the sticky residue. Your mentor called it nonsense. then avoided breadfruit groves after dark. Coincidence? Peel slowly. This stuff bonds tighter than a Hollywood marriage. Mahogany's the diva, smooth bark, disguising iron-hard grain. Requires stone adzes to shape the original difficult client. 19th century traders prized it, ignoring that Polynesians used mahogany for paddles centuries earlier. Your blade trembles. This surface mimics human skin too closely. Every nick feels like surgery. The trio's textures tell triage. Cause roughness becomes hull armor. Breadfruit's elasticity twists into lashings. Mahogany's density balances outriggers. You rotate samples blindly. Their identities shout through your calluses. GPS may fail, tree fingerprints don't lie. Warm rain softens the koa, suddenly workable as modeling clay. You fold a bark strip. It holds the curve like memory foam. Modern engineers replicate this via 5-step chemical processes. Your ancestors just waited for squalls. Efficiency tip: let clouds do the lab work. Breadfruit reveals its party trick. Dried sap ignites faster than gas station lighters. Explorers carried these strips as Tinder Vancouver's crew allegedly survived 3 shipwrecks using breadfruit kindling. You strike a flint, the spark races along resin channels. Pyromaniac trees, more like accidental lifesavers. Mahogany fights back your ad's chips rather than cuts. Colonial records blunder here. Shipwrights dismissed Polynesian techniques as primitive hacking. Then their mahogany masts snapped in equatorial storms. Karma tastes like sawdust and crow. You spot the telltale scar. Koa saplings, wounded young, develop extra tannins. Builders marked them young, a botanical coming-of-age ritual. Carbon dating proves intentional scarring. Samples match voyaging's golden age. History hides in tree acne. Breadfruit's inner bark stains your palms yellow, the original highlighter pen. Generations marked ideal trees with handprints. Ghostly golden X's visible during blue moons. Archaeologists debate whether these were practical guides or arboreal fanmail. Mahohai, the shadow mahogany, complicates things. Nearly identical bark, but it splits during droughts. Only elders detected the faint coconut aroma. Genetic testing now proves it's a subspecies. Your ancestors classified flora by smell like wine snobs. Koa chips float downstream. You're not littering. They release growth inhibitors, nature's zoning laws. Smart, considering 17th century deforestation nearly wiped out Oahu stands. Sustainability isn't new, just forgotten. The breadfruit's final layer clings. You hum old stripping chants. Doesn't help. Resorting to the hip check method, shoulder slams that would shame a linebacker. Bark surrenders in sheets. Take that, cellulose. Mahogany dust coats your arms like henna. Temporary tattoos of progress. Each stroke honors the 8-shaped drills found in Tahitian tool caches. Historians still argue whether the drill's loop design imitated whirlpools or mating eels. Your arms vote for eels, the rhythm's too serpentine. Twilight filters through koa, leaves your hands, now texture-reading machines. They differentiate species by parchment, crinkle species, ID via static friction. Uber Fuhr botanists, if Uber required decades of apprenticeship and calluses, you bundle the sacred trio's bark, cause raspy, breadfruit's tacky, mahogany's cold polish. Tonight they'll soak in tide pools. Tomorrow's work depends on maritime osmosis, or as your mentor growled, saltwater therapy for lazy lumber. Waves crack jokes in the distance, the ocean's waiting to test your homework. Moonlight sharpens the world into edges, and silver, your blade glints like a frozen minnow. Shadows stretch bark patterns into alien glyphs. What looked smooth by day now bristles with secrets. You kneel where tide pools gurgle. Salt water soaks your knees as the moon climbs. Historians note Polynesian lunar calendars dictated harvesting. Full moons exposed barks, hidden moisture trails. You prove it now. Damp streaks glitter like liquid mercury across koa's surface. 19th century missionaries called this primitive astrology until their European timber rotted in tropical rains. Bioluminescent algae cling to breadfruit bark, nature's sticky notes marking flawed sections. Your finger smears a glowing line. Watched Captain Cook's botanist sketch this phenomenon as phosphorescent devilry. Locals knew better. Follow the blue streaks to weak grain. Mahogany plays tricks under stars. Its mirror-like bark reflects constellations. You tilt a sample, Orion's belt warps across the surface. Some elders swore this predicted voyage success. If the distortion resembled a fish, bet on smooth seas. Tonight, it's all bent spears and bad omens. A cracked ridge catches your nail, invisible by daylight, now stark as a canyon. Moon-exposed flaws mock you. This koa chunk seemed flawless 6 hours ago. You mark it with cockle shells. The discard pile grows. Night insects drone as you peel a breadfruit strip. Its sap glues your fingers together. Myths say these trees imprison lazy craftsmen, eternally stuck mid-task. You flex your hand, the bonds hold. Maybe the legends had a point. Here's the fringe bit. Ship logs from 1823 describe moon-drunk wood that shrieked when carved after midnight. You press an ear to mahogany. Here only see wind and your pulse. Madness or metaphor. Either way, stack that log far from camp. The debate begins. Historians still argue whether night inspections were practical or spiritual. Your ink-stained fingers vote practical. Rot glows, faint green under moonlight, like cheap glow sticks. But the way shadows pool in wormholes, maybe the ancients felt watched. Tide pools mirror the sky. You dunk questionable bark to double-check. Water bleeds tannins like squid ink. The ocean's counterfeit Rorschach test. A breadfruit strip floats wrong side up, rejected. Salt never lies, even when the moon's tipsy. Your knife nicks a hidden knot. Mahogany bleeds resin thicker than honey. Wounds show clearer tonight. Cells swell under lunar pull like anxious hearts. Colonial accounts dismissed this as myth. Their repair logs tell a different story. Wind ripples the tidal shallows, caw bark bobs like skittish turtles. You retrieve a cured piece, its ridges grip your palm like braille. Masters red moon-baked textures blindfolded tonight. You're nostalgically half-competent. Dawn threatens in the east, the final test. You stack selected bark, where first sunlight will strike. Night's verdict versus day's illusion. One will crack by noon. The ocean yawns, tide withdraws to judge your choices. Sunlight bleaches the night's secrets, your discarded bark cracks, audibly as it dries. The real work begins now, stone mallet heavy in your palm. Tap testings, rhythm haunts these shores. Ancestral metronome, separating strong backs from splintered failures. You strike koa bark, thunk vibrates up your arm like a bass chord. Good. Next piece sings hollow, a cheap karaoke version of durability. 19th century sailors wrote of this ritual. Captain Cook's logs mention natives, hammering trees like demented blacksmiths. Their condescension sank with their waterlogged ships. A breadfruit sample cracks under your third tap. Sap oozes like congealed honey. Legend claims cursed wood weeps when struck. You wipe the goo on your thigh, fashion faux pas or not. Rot detection trumps style. Historians still argue whether specific tap patterns communicated tribal status. 5 taps for chiefs, 3 for fishermen. Your elbow disagrees. Every strike's identical. Maybe symbolism mattered more than acoustics. The fringe part. 18th century missionaries reported trees singing hymns when tapped, likely wind through split bark. You test it, whack a fissured mahogany. Only gulls answer. Sweat drips onto a dubious plank. The droplet sinks into porous grain. Death by osmosis. You toss it, watch it splash into the discard lagoon. Barracuda scatter, they too judge poor craftsmanship. Back to work, your mallet finds rhythm. Thud hollow thud becomes a morbid nursery rhyme. Elders swore you could map a tree's age by resonance. Tight rings hum higher pitches. Science frowns, but your calluses vote traditional. That mahogany from last night, the one reflecting bent constellations, it booms like a war drum. Keeper, your shoulder protests. Each swing digs trenches of fatigue. Ocean breeze carries the moans of 1,000 novice canoe builders. Weevil holes amplify the worst cracks, nature's shitty surround sound. You stuff one with mangrove tar, temporary fix, like duct tape on a sinking dinghy. The real solution, better listening skills. Midday heat warps the air, your shadow huddles beneath coconut palms. One last log, silvered by decades of salt spray. The first tap rings pure, a Tibetan singing bowl's cousin. Second strike, no decay, just depth. Your blisters cheer hoarsely. Salt crystallizes on chosen planks. Their bark curls like parchment. Tonight's task, peel, carve, repeat. But first, a nap in the tide's retreating foam. Let waves critique your selections while you dream of calloused gods nodding approval. Shade shifts, your nap interrupted by leathery hands molding yours around a splintered plank. The elder's grip speaks without words, index finger pressing your knuckle into a weathered groove. This crack, she rasps, her voice toasted by decades of bonfire smoke, is older than your grandfather's first tattoo. Rot's stench clings to the fissure, a microbial battlefield lost long ago. You pull back instinctively. She clamps harder. Patience is a blade, she chides. Sharpen it here. 19th century engravings show similar scenes. Apprentices bent double as elders force their hands into jagged bark. Colonial observers called it cruelty. Modern carvers know it as accelerated empathy. Blisters meet beetle tracks. Your fingertips decode ridges shaped by typhoons. The wood remembers what you've only read, salt crusts from a storm in 1921. Humidity surges from El Niño years. Historians still argue whether these patterns correlate with actual weather records. Your throbbing palm votes yes. She rotates the plank. Your thumb discovers a smoother patch. Wedding day, she murmurs. Tree grew faster that season, less friction from wind. You blink. Botanists confirm rapid growth creates tighter grain. Romantic. Maybe. But the elder's nail traces a heart-shaped knot. Science hasn't killed all the poetry. A gecko scuttles across the bark. She flicks it off scornfully. Distractions, she growls. Last chief's son stared at clouds during this lesson, carved a canoe that sank in bathtub waves. Her punchline arrives salt dry. Now we use his hull as a pig trough. Night falls. Your hands graduate to unmarked wood. Blindfolded, you feel for the elder's warnings. A slight ridge here, a spongy depression there. Fringe theorists claim masters transmit knowledge through epidermal osmosis. Your dime store bandana disagrees. Sweat soaks the fabric. Each breath smells of sawdust and futility. Warrior wood, she barks as you pause at a knot cluster. Or lazy wood, your pinky probes the center, crumbly decay masquerading as strength. Half-remembered gossip resurfaces. A 1930s trader who sold blessed logs full of termite hotels. The tribe re-gifted them as his funeral pyre, allegedly. Dawn licks the horizon. Your forehead leans against mercifully cool mahogany. The elder peels a bark strip with surgical precision, layers separating like onion skin. 3 cyclones, she says, counting translucent rings in the cambium. 2 droughts, 1 volcanic winter. You squint. The tree's biography resembles grandma's gossip-fueled memoir. She pockets a shard token for tonight's storytelling fire. You mimic her, palm-sizing a splinter. It pricks your thumb, nature's pop quiz. Blood seals the lesson, she nods. You're 80% sure she's messing with you. Sun properly rises, your hands throb in unison. The elder disappears into mangroves, her exit punctuated by a turned screech. You study the plank she approved. It's ugly as sin. But when waves mimic her voice in the grain's contours, you almost smile. Salt crust pricks your palms. The approved plank wears its history like a battle jacket. Each scar whispers a storm's name, ragged furrows from Punahoa's typhoon of 39, smoother valleys carved by 5-year drizzle sieges. You kneel, sand grinds into knees, already raw from yesterday's lessons. The elder's voice drifts back, not her real presence, just memory's earworm. Scars mean survival, but too many mean desperation. Your nail digs at a blackened seam, lightning strikes circa 1912, if the fire marks don't lie. Mainstream archaeology backs this. Carbon dating places Polynesian canoes in Hawaii by 300 CE, their hulls bearing similar scars. A beetle carcass crumbles under your thumb, its century-old tomb wedged in the grain. Fringe myth warns of telegraph trees, elder bark allegedly humming before storms. You press an ear to the plank, nothing but trapped heat and tinnitus. Rot blooms beneath a handsome stretch, sugar-soft pulp mocking the unblemished surface. Pretty liars, you mutter a phrase stolen from last week's breadfruit debacle. Historians still argue whether navigators used storm-scarred wood as nautical maps. Your blistered hands vote no. Moonlight complicates the search. Shadows turn hairline cracks into canyons. You recall Grandma's joke. Old woods, like teenagers, all flaws and swagger. The comparison holds. Both require squinting to see potential. Your pinky discovers a ridge trio, identical marks on the canoe that brought Kamehameha's warriors to Oahu. Coincidence? The elder's ghost voice hisses. Coincidence is for lazy historians. You count the overlaps, 12 typhoons, 3 volcanic ash layers, a tree's resume more detailed than your dating profile. Dawn exposes your error. A storm scar turns out to be goat teeth marks. The elder materializes, as elders do, holding a strip of bark veined like an ECG readout. Fast heartbeat here. She taps a frantic grain swirl. Hurricane pregnancy. Tree pumped sap like adrenaline. You mimic her stance, knees bent, nose 2 inches from wood. Rot's sweetness mingles with her tobacco breath. A scent combo that'll haunt your nightmares. She peels a bark slice with her teeth, reveals sediment from the 1883 Krakatoa eruption, shipped here in seagull bellies, she claims. Your laugh startles a crab. Scientists blame atmospheric currents for ash distribution, but why ruin a good yarn? The test comes at noon. Choose between 2 near-identical planks. One bears a scar shaped like Maui's fishhook, a crowd pleaser. The other, bald as a monk's crown, but its grain flows like unbroken rapids. You press both to your forehead, the elder's trick for listening deeper. Silence, then faint as a hangover epiphany, the smooth plank hums. Not the mythic storm warning, just bees in a nearby pandanus tree. Still, you point to the bald board. The elder's smirk suggests you passed or failed spectacularly. She disappears again, leaving you with the chosen wood and its invisible virtues. Twilight turns its surface into a cinema screen, projecting every storm it withstood. Salt crust sparkles like cheap special effects, but the performance feels earned. Your gut clenches, yesterday's lunch, or dread that replicating this instinct will take decades. Either way, the plank's ready. Not flawless, just stubborn enough to outlast the sea's worst punchlines. Your fingers brush bark smoother than dolphin skin, a death trap disguised as perfection. A Camus' folly, the elder called it, would so faultless it sank 3 war canoes in calm seas. Mainstream texts confirm it. The hollow tree's deceiving bark, starred in 11 shipwreck chants pre-colonial era. You lean closer. Vanilla, resin tickles your nose. Sweetness means danger here. Healthy canoe wood smells like wet earth after first rain. A fringe legend speaks of siren trees, their trunks humming nursery rhymes to lure cutters. Your knuckle taps the surface. It responds with a hollow pock no denser than cheap plywood. Dead gods, they're real. Your whisper stirs moths hiding in a nearby canoe's ribs. 6 forbidden species haunt every builder's apprenticeship names, so taboo they're only written in tidal sand. The worst offender, Pandanus tectorius, scrupine masquerading as shipwrights gold. Its bark shows diamond patterns, so hypnotic 19th century British traders hoarded it for aristocrats' wallpaper. The elder materializes, mud-caked toes kicking your shin. Stop flirting with that coffin. She spits beetle nut juice onto the trunk. It sizzles. Sap bubbles at dawn if the wood's rotten, oldest trick in the Pacific. Historians still argue whether Polynesians banned these trees for practicality or spite. Nobody survived using them long enough to tell. You peel a ribbon of bark. It unrolls like Christmas gift wrap. Beneath lies wood grain resembling cracked porcelain. Told you, the elder snorts. Pretty as a pearl diver, lungs full of seawater. Her thumbnail pries a splinter. It snaps faster than a promise. Rain begins. Fat drops warp the forbidden trunk's surface. Grooves writhe like eels in a net. You recoil. Trick of the light. The elder lies smoothly. Her grin says otherwise. 3 insults later. You're hauling a safe log uphill, back muscles screaming obscenities. The forbidden tree's vanilla scent chases you, a stalker perfume. You nearly miss the real test, a hollow seedling lurking among breadfruit saplings. Its bark shines like polished amber, until you spot termite frass in a crevice. Found you, you whisper. The elder hovers with a coconut shell paintbrush, its bristles made from God's help you her own hair. Mark it, she orders. White clay streaks the trunk, a skull and crossbones for future builders. Twilight reveal, 7 forbidden saplings surround camp, their bark flawless, under moonlight. You tally them like jailers counting inmates. Sleep brings dreams of sinking canoes upholstered in velvet, and the elder cackling from a life raft woven from seaweed. Dawn's first light exposes your folly, clay marks washed away by rain. Lesson 2, the elder says, dangling a wriggling grub before your bloodshot eyes. Bury this in any suspect trunk if it dies. So would your crew. The grub's thrashing legs tickle your palm. You choose a deceiver tree. its bark cool as marble. The elder nods approval when the larva convulses, 12 seconds flat, faster than my ex-husband's remarriage, she quips. You laugh until she makes you lick the dead grub off your hand. By noon, your tongue tastes of soil and regret, but the lesson sticks. Survival here isn't about avoiding danger, but knowing which sweetnesses carry coffin nails. The forbidden trees gleam innocently in sunlight, their threat now etched deeper than any bark scar. The elder's spit-cleaned machete gleams in your palm, weighted for singing, not slaughter. You raise it, hesitate, until her elbow jabs your ribs. Wood hears fear, she growls. So does my arthritis. Your first strike bites bark, shockwaves sting like slapped wrists. Wrong song, she snaps. You try again, this time humming a tuna fishing chant. The blade sinks deeper, fibers parting like shy lovers. Mainstream texts confirm it. 18th century Tongan shipwrights used 103 distinct work chants, each pitch-tested against ocean winds. She smirks at your progress until you hit a knot. Your voice cracks worse than my knees, she taunts. Her calloused palm slaps your diaphragm, forcing air upwards. The next note vibrates your teeth. Nearby, geckos freeze mid-scuttle. Fibers ripple, not uncoils like a sleeping squid. There's your bedtime story, the elder mutters. A fringe theory claims certain chants mimic termite mandible vibrations, softening cellulose through resonance. You file that underbelieve it when I see it, until sap bleeds slower under your revised pitch. Moonrise finds you duetting with tree frogs, their croaks sinking to your blade's cadence. The elder naps against a cursed hollow trunk, snoring in perfect 4/4 time. Historians still argue whether work chants functioned as sonic tools or spiritual bribes. Your blistered palms vote both. Dawn brings humiliation. A British explorer's 1893 journal flutters into camp. Page 64. The elder commands. You read aloud. Savages sing to appease demonic wood spirits your voice, curdling on demonic. She cackles, hurls a breadfruit at your head. Tell me, demon, did white oak ever weep for their ships? Mid-afternoon heat warps your focus. You accidentally summon a mosquito cloud with a misfired bass note. The elder retaliates, teaching you the tsunami crescendo, banned in 3 islands for causing migraines. Bark shivers like scared prey. You almost feel guilty. By week's end, you harmonize with surf and cicadas, nature's backing track. The elder grudgingly nods when your low hum splinters a log cleanly. Not terrible, she admits, then orders you to serenade her bunions with something tropical. Rainwater pools in your freshly split wood, each hollow singing a different note. You craft a xylophone of ignorance, playing it with machete hilts until the elder kicks it apart. Music's a tool, not a toy, she scolds, ignoring the grin she hides behind a beetle-stained hand. Your final test, strip bark using only a conch shell's drone. Lips buzzing, hands trembling. You channel ancestors' breath, fibers detach like overcooked pork. The elder inspects your work through narrowed eyes. Could have used more vibrato. She lies, you spot approval in her fists, slow unclenching. Stars emerge as she reveals the ultimate chant, a ululation so piercing. It scares fruit bats into vomiting dates, for emergency use only. She warns, patting the trembler tree that birthed her first canoe. You mimic the cry. Your version sounds like a stepped-on cat. Work on that, she deadpans, tossing you dried octopus as peace offering. Chewing sinks your jaw to ancestral rhythms, each bite a metronome. The forbidden trees droop tonight, their bark silent under the weight of your hard-won songs. At midnight, you catch the elder murmuring to her favorite canoe, a duet older than empires. The wood answers, creaking a lullaby, even storms respect. You fall asleep counting syllabic pulses, 7-beat cadence matching your slowest heartbeat. Dreams bring singing trees that curse in legato, and an elder who conducts lightning like it's choir practice. Your last conscious thought, that Western music never mentions blisters as a percussive element, their greatest failing. A sand-gridded plank stings your thighs as you kneel, the elder's knife hovering over a knot the size of your bad decisions. This one birthed 3 shipwrecks, she croaks, tapping a spiral pattern that mirrors 1873 cyclone maps. Your nail catches on the groove. Roughness sings of snapped masts and embarrassed ancestors. She forces your palm flat against the grain. Feel the currents pull. Sure enough, ridges run northwest like trade winds, frozen in cellulose. Historians still argue whether these patterns guided voyages or just amused bored carvers. Your blisters vote for both. That twisted center not mocks you. It whorls tighter than a British explorer's colonial grip. You recall Cook's logs dismissing Polynesian wood sorcery right before HMS Resolution cracked on a reef they'd charted as safe. The elder snorts, reading your smirk. White sails, black luck. Morning light exposes a smaller knot cluster. Widow's eyes, she names it, each circular flaw a captain lost to Poseidon's whims. 18th century Fiji used such markings to assign lifeboat priority women and knots first. Your chisel hesitates, wood already splintered by a century of similar tools. Cut counter to the spin. She instructs, demonstrating with a wrist flick that carves perfect crescent shavings. You try, producing something resembling toddlers' crayon scribbles. A fringe theory claims master carvers could predict tsunamis by counting resin droplets in knots. Currently, you'd settle for not gouging your femoral artery. By noon, sweat glues sawdust to your neck folds. The elder tests your progress, dropping a beetlesh cadaver into your knot's center. If it sits still, you failed. The corpse immediately levitates, caught in a miniature wind tunnel of your shoddy carving. Her wheeze laugh sounds like a drowning accordion. You discover hidden geometry, triangular grain patterns matching the Tuamatu atoll chain. Coincidence, growls the elder, then mutters coordinates under her breath. Modern sailors still debate whether to trust GPS or tree logic near Rapa Nui. The splinter under your thumbnail suggests trees play favorites. Dusk brings horrors, a plank from the laughing canoe sunk in 1912. Its knots form a perfect caricature of Queen Liliuokalani, eyebrows raised at your incompetence. The elder bows to the wood, offering dried squid through clenched teeth. Royalty deserves protein. She hisses. You swear the grain shifts in approval. Nightfall teaches the final test, reading knots by tongue. Taste reveals what fingers miss, salt crystals in a spiral's heart, hinting of Arctic pack ice. Your gag reflex activates at a particularly moldy whorl. Weak stomachs sink fleets, clucks the elder, throwing a charcoal tablet that tastes like burnt regrets. Moonlight morphs knots into spectral maps. You trace an iguana-shaped flaw that supposedly guided Starnbridger's lost 1905 expedition right into a mangrove swamp. The elder confiscates your chisel before you romanticize colonial incompetence. Her snores later mingle with waves, their rhythms smoother than any grain you've earned the right to carve. Salt crusts your lips as dawn leaks through storm clouds. The forbidden knot remains, its spiral now pulsing like a dormant squid. You hum last night's wind patterns, steel whispering across wood's memory of sap and hurricanes. The first clean curl falls, smelling inexplicably of bergamot and surrender. By midday, your blade discovers the knot's secret, a fossilized seahorse lodged where the trunk once bent seaward. The elder pockets it before you can speak. No souvenirs, she grumbles, though her pocket keeps twitching. You carve the final groove, your hands finally understanding what academia never taught. The plank now hums when wind hits, its grain a baseline to the elder's off-key hymns. She inspects your work with a termite leg magnifier. 3 out of 10, she declares, tossing you a mango pit carved with coordinates. You suck the last fruit flesh, sweetness almost outweighing the realization she's just booked your maiden voyage. Waves lick the hull as you press your ear to yesterday's nightmare knot. Faintly, impossibly, you hear rigging creak and a voice shouting latitude numbers. The elder kicks your ankle. Eavesdropping's rude, she snaps, her own ear already glued to the next board's scandalous whisperings. Stars emerge as you oil the finished plank, each knot glowing like a drowned city's street map. The elder distributes victory poultices that reek of fermented pandanus. She slathers yours extra thick, a mercy or punishment, depending on tomorrow's seasickness. Your calluses thrum in alien harmonies, counting down to whatever comes afterward. Salted wind carries the elder's final lesson as you doze. Knots are just tree laughs at our plans. You dream of boards that rearrange their grain mid-voyage, sabotaging egos with cheerful creaks. Dawn finds you carrot-colored from poultice overdose, but the sea murmurs approval in 7 distinct dialects. Your eyelids slam shut, not by choice, as cloth rough, as coconut husk cinches over your face. The elder's breath smells of yesterday's sea urchin as she triple knots the blindfold. Sight breeds doubt. She hisses, pressing your splayed fingers against bark that could be oak or your neighbor's fence post. Memory whispers that 14th century Tahitian navigators once sailed blindfolded to heighten other senses, though your current sweat suggests they had better deodorant. The first sample's ridges feel like Braille gone feral. You count vertical grooves, 3 tight, 1 loose, a pattern matching breadfruit bark's wave rhythm. But wait, the backside's smooth as a con artist's pitch. Your pinky finds a resin glob hardened into a perovskite crystal structure. Geologists would weep. But you're more concerned with the sticky proof of termite vandalism. Wrong, crackles the elder's voice. A seashell smacks your ear. Second slab arrives smelling of vinegar and overconfidence. Fingertips register pockmarks arranged in Fibonacci spirals, the hallmarks of storm-resistant koa wood. Yet something prickles your instincts. A single groove cuts diagonally like a shark's scar. You recall British Museum records describing Fijian apprenticeship rituals, where novices licked bark to detect salt infiltration. The elder's silence suggests she's judging your hesitation and your life choices. Third candidate feels like a prank, scaly patches alternating with velvet-smooth stretches. Your thumbnail digs into a ridge it yields like rotten mango. A fringe 1998 study proposed that certain Polynesian barks contain magnetite clusters for aligning with Earth's magnetic field. This feels less like navigation aid and more like the tree partied with a compost heap. The fourth piece stops your breath, cool and unyielding, ridges flowing like liquid toward one edge. You map its topography, an exact mirror of the Crescent Bay, where your grandfather's canoe sank in '93. Historians still argue whether master carvers encoded tidal patterns into wood selection or just had stellar spatial memory. The bark's faint hum suggests the trees are laughing at academia. Salt spray hits your neck as the elder peels away the cloth. 7 minutes late, she grumbles, though her nod hints at relief. Behind you, 3 planks radiate failure, their bark already curling like dead centipede legs. The fourth stands pristine, its surface gleaming with the quiet arrogance of wood that knows it's superior. She makes you lick it. The taste blooms kelp and iron, and something disturbingly close to birthday cake. Healthy, the elder declares, wiping the spit line with her sleeve. Now the test. A mallet materializes in her grip, its handle notched with 73 prior victims. You strike your chosen bark once, twice. The sound rings clean as a bellbird's cry. Her mallet arcs toward the third failure plank. It disintegrates into a cloud of splinters and what might have been a weevil's final scream. Eyes open, you'd have chosen the pretty one. She sneers, toe poking the debris. Dead wood wears lipstick. Night falls as you kneel amidst the wreckage, forearms mapped with bark imprints like topographic tattoos. The elder tosses you a shard of obsidian sharpened using 1920s prison techniques. Now peel properly. Stars wheel overhead as your hands internalize textures no screen could simulate. The VR headset generation would have sworn this bark was CGI. By dawn, your fingertips bleed in 11 places, a number the elder claims is auspicious. She rubs a paste of crushed sea cucumber and regret into the wounds. Pain's the best teacher. She lies. You've seen her pop ibuprofen like candy. The surviving plank now sits oiled and haughty, ready to become something that floats or sinks. The sea breeze carries charcoal smoke from breakfast fires, and the elder's final verdict. Next time, blindfold stays on during the licking phase. You spit out bark fragments that taste suspiciously of passive aggression. Somewhere beneath your blisters, knowledge takes root crude, but alive. A sapling of competence in forests of doubt. Your palms sting as you kneel before the fire pit, its stones blackened by decades of sacrificial bark. The elder hacks your chosen slab into splinters with a rusted machete forged from a 1942 propeller. Bark's death matters more than its life. She growls, arranging kindling in a spiral mimicking Orion's belt. A 19th century missionary journal described Tahitian canoe-wrights using star-aligned fires, though they probably didn't have to dodge airborne embers from their instructor's cigar. Flames lick the wood, greenish smoke coiling like jealous spirits. You cough as the scent of burnt vanilla and shame hits your sinuses. The elder paints your cheeks with ash from prior rituals, cool grit seeping into pores. Every fire needs 3 lies and 1 truth, she mutters, tossing in a lock of her hair. Scholars still debate whether Polynesian ash mixtures contained actual crushed pearls or just cleverly ground seashells. The bark curls inward, blackening into scales that shimmer like inverted stars. You reach to stir the coals. A seashell ladle cracks across your knuckles. Let it suffer, the elder snaps. No mercy for what refuses to burn clean. A 1980s surf documentary claimed Hawaiian shamans used koa bark ash to hex rival canoes, probably why that film cruise boat later capsized in calm waters. Hours pass. The fire collapses into a mound of glowing grit. You're handed a coconut husk brush bristling with seagull quills. Paint against doubt, the elder orders, slapping a gourd of fermented sap into your free hand. The mix resembles tar and resentment. Each stroke on the hull feels like spreading night itself, sticky and final. A twig snaps behind you. The elder's granddaughter creeps forward, her arms full of yellow flowers banned from ritual use. For the gray parts, she whispers. The elder's snort suggests this isn't her first floral rebellion. You sneak a petal into the paste. It dissolves like sugar in gasoline. Modern chemists would kill to study this pH imbalance. Midnight arrives with uninvited rain. The elder chants as you shield the ash with your body, posture mimicking the canoe's prow. Hailstones tattoo your back. Someone's laughing in the tree line may be ancestors, maybe teens with poor timing. Dawn reveals your failure, the ash coating blisters where rain sneaked through, a Rorschach test of imperfection. The elder prods a bubbled patch with her big toe. Good. You blink. Weak spots show where to add more lies, she explains, dipping a stolen mermaid figurine into the ash bucket. By noon, the hull gleams like a crescent moon, grounded in daylight. You're halfway through a victory coconut when the elder upends it over your masterpiece. Sticky milk paints a R-rated Rorschach across sacred geometry. Now it's protected. She smirks, tapping the mess with her machete. The note rings pure, a bronze bell heard through seawater. Stars return as you collapse by the cold fire pit. The granddaughter slips you a leaf-wrapped parcel, charred breadfruit, smelling suspiciously of apology. Through the trees, the ash-coated canoe floats in tide pools, its reflection merging with the Milky Way. The elder's snores harmonize with crashing waves. You lick sap off your wrist. It tastes like closure and accidental sunscreen. The horizon blurs as your head hits the sand. Somewhere beyond the reef, ash particles ride updrafts, meeting storm clouds heavy with tomorrow's regrets. Your last thought before sleep. The canoe's probably safer from demons than your dignity is from that child's giggles. Your eyelids crack open to twin realities, granular sand, and the elder's toenail hovering inches from your nose. Coastal trees wear armor, she rasps, kicking a driftwood chunk against your temple. It leaves a salt crust streak smelling of fish and bad decisions. You stumble toward the tide line where two logs await, one barnacled and rugged, the other smooth as a lawyer's handshake. Fingers brush the coastal wood first. Its bark digs into your skin, crisscrossed grooves tighter than a spy's encryption. Tiny salt crystals glitter like betrayal in dawn light. Polynesian voyagers specifically sought these briny survivors. Their wood-resisting rot, where lesser trunks would dissolve into maritime mush. Historians still argue whether coastal hardness came from mineral absorption or pure spite. The inland sample feels disturbingly human, pale, and vulnerable under your touch. Its papery skin flakes away at the slightest pressure, revealing splinters softer than a politician's spine. Rainforest babes, the elder sneers, spitting beetle, nut juice that sizzles against the wood, crumble faster than a sugar cube in a tsunami. A 1963 botany study found coastal ironwood bark grows 3 times thicker within earshot of breaking waves. Though nobody's explained how trees hear the sea, you peel a coastal strip, slow as diffusing a bomb. Sticky sap blooms where bark divorces trunk, amber beads smelling of iodine and perseverance. The elder slaps your hand toward a gnarly protrusion. Grip here where the tree fought back. Knots born from coastal winds make better handholds than any carved rail, evolution's gift to sailors too stubborn to drown. Rainforest wood sings a different tune under your knife, high-pitched and desperate, its pinkish grain parts like overripe fruit. See that? The elder stabs a splintered edge. No resistance. Floats like a corpse, carves like guilt. 18th century missionaries wrote horrified letters about inland canoes, disintegrating mid-voyage, their diaries floating ashore in waterproof Bibles. A coconut crab sidles up, claws clicking like a disapproving ant. It snips the rainforest sample into confetti, legs straddling the remains like a conquering general. Island legends claim these crustaceans judge wood quality, though modern biologists insist they'll eat anything slower than themselves. The elder tosses her cigar butt into its pincers, grinning as it retreats with the prize. Salt wind whips your face as you test the coastal bark's flex. It arches like a cat's spine, springing back without complaint. Wave-washed wood remembers how to bend. The elder murmurs, twisting a strip around her forearm. The rainforest specimen snaps instantly, its fracture line oozing sap that reeks of floral perfume and regret. By midday, your forearms burn from stripping coastal samples. Each bark sheet unfurls like a treasure map, lichen patches marking stress points, beetle scars mapping safe zones. The elder forces you to tongue a salt-encrusted edge, your taste buds screaming like shocked Victorians. Memory lives here, she insists. Swallow the sea's anger so your canoe won't have to. Distant thunder rolls, a reminder that inland storms lack the ocean's cruel imagination. You line up both wood types under gathering clouds. Rain hits the coastal bark and beads like quicksilver, channeled through natural runoff grooves. The rainforest wood bloats instantly, its surface bubbling like a sinner at confession. 19th century canoe makers allegedly used this spongy flesh as emergency sandpaper, a fact never mentioned in museum exhibits. Twilight brings cruel clarity. You're ankle deep in bark shards when the elder wheels in a pressure hose stolen from God knows where. Saltwater blasts the coastal log. It shrugs off the assault like a war monument. The rainforest wood disintegrates into stringy pulp, its final act staining your toes neon pink. Always check origin, the elder growls, handing you a mangrove pod filled with suspiciously warm rum. Trees lie about their resumes, same as people. Stars emerge as you burn the failed samples. Coastal bark smoke coils skyward, dense and purposeful. Rainforest remnants smolder like a teenager's rebellion, all spark and no substance. The elder fashions a kazoo from hollowed bark, tooting out a sea shanty off-key enough to scare seagulls. You pocket a charred coastal splinter, its edges still sharp enough to rewrite fate. Morning finds you waist deep in tide pools, rubbing bark samples against coral. The coastal contender emerges unscathed, its surface now polished like a widow's wedding band. The rainforest relic becomes a sponge again, sucking up seawater until it sinks like a dropped secret. You glance shoreward, the elders already napping in a stolen hammock, snoring in sync with the surf. The lesson's clear, even if your pores will reek of brine for weeks. A hermit crab commandeers the last rainforest chunk, its makeshift home, now a pulpy mess. You watch it scramble toward deeper water, an absurd monument to poor life choices. The coastal log remains unyielding as you press your cheek against its weathered skin. Somewhere beneath that armor, heartwood thrums, a liquefied map of every wave it ever defied. A shrill giggle cracks the salt-crusted air. You turn to see brown feet kicking up sand. 3 children materialize like mirages, the youngest still clutching a half-eaten mango. Their leader thrusts a bark fragment under your nose, bony elbow jabbing your ribs. "Ant highways," she declares, pointing to hairline trails you'd mistake for grain patterns. You squint, the markings flare into focus. Microscopic trenches winding through the cambium. 18th century British trade logs complain Polynesian children rejected 37% of their timber shipments, saving countless voyages through preteen nitpicking. The elder wordlessly hands the girl a shark tooth, currency, here surpassing any crypto. Watch the wigglies. A boy presses his ear to a log, grinning, as beetle larvae click Morse code beneath the bark. Island lore claims kids hear wood borers chewing at frequencies adults lose after puberty, though audiologists dismiss it as wishful thinking. You try it, hear only blood rushing through your own decaying eardrums. They attack the coastal log like forensic accountants, dirt-caked nails probing crevices. Seesaw sap. A toddler shouts, rocking on a bark strip until yellow resin oozes. Too fluid means weak elasticity. The elder nods approval, tossing him a coconut candy wrapped in pandanus leaf. Your turn. Palms sweating. You miss the jagged scar camouflaged as a knot. A girl barely knee-high slaps your wrist, her fingernail tracing the defect's edges. Break here when she mimes a canoe snapping mid-wave, complete with sound effects. 19th century missionary schools tried banning these savage drills until their own ships started sinking. Twilight stains the beach wine dark. The kids scatter, returning with bioluminescent worms cupped in palm fronds. They smear the glowing paste across bark samples, parasite tracks lighting up like neon freeways. Dorito hotels, the elder grunts referencing shipworms that devour compromised wood. Modern marinas use UV lights for similar checks, but nothing beats nature's glow stick. One brat perches on your shoulders, commanding a beetle's eye view. From up here, the coastal bark resembles a battle-scarred fortress. Their gasp hits your left eardrum. Uncleaned poop. A gecko's chalky dropping sits nestled in a fissure, its acidity already bleaching the surrounding fibers. You'd have missed it for moss. The elder spins a horror story as night deepens, tales of canoes dissolving mid-ocean because someone ignored a child's scribbled warnings. Ancestors ride in their laughter, she claims, though anthropologists still debate whether this was spiritual belief or clever workforce management. Dawn reveals the true test. Blindfolded, you're led to 4 nearly identical bark sheets. The children's whispers guide your fingers. Ridge here, soft spot there, a telltale pockmark that spells doom. You hesitate, they collectively groan. Their leader rips off your blindfold, revealing a beetle, hatchling parade beneath your perfect sample. Payment comes in sticky handfuls, palm sugar pressed into bark shavings. The elder watches stone-faced as the kids execute their victory dance, feet stomping rhythms older than written word. One girl carves her initials into discarded wood, a future archaeologist's headache. You pocket their finest find, a bark slice with 0 defects. It weighs nothing, yet carries the gravity of generations. The children vanish as abruptly as they came, their laughter lingering like salt on sunburned skin. Somewhere beyond the reef, a tree grows new bark, already preparing for little hands, yet unborn. Salt crusts your lips as the elder leads you inland, away from the children's fading laughter. Heat thickens here, so dense you chew air like overripe jackfruit. She halts at twin logs, identical in size and grain. Breathe foolishness, breathe truth. She mutters, palms hovering above each like a human metal detector. Your nose meets the first specimen. Rot wafts up disguised as tropical sweetness. Overripe, papaya fermenting coconut, nature's candy shop masking disaster. Polynesian navigation, charts coded scent warnings alongside stars. Lapita voyagers sniffed winds for distant islands centuries before compasses. The stench, a deal-breaker dressed as dessert. The elder grunts, prodding you toward log 2. You inhale skepticism, then blink. Damp earth after monsoon, fresh-cut pandanus, a tang of iron from volcanic soil. No parlor tricks, just honest musk. Your lungs recognize it before your brain, the olfactory equivalent of your childhood bedsheets. Rot flirts, health marries. The elder croaks, knife already flaying the sweet-smelling imposter. Inside, black veins spider through pulp like cursed capillaries. That tropical bouquet was fungal spore foreplay. 17th century European shipwrights often fell for this, their perfumed ships dissolving faster than sugar in brine. Something brushes your ankle, a feral pig snuffling the rotten log. Island lore claims wild boars led masters to superior wood through snout tests, though modern zoologists scoff at the notion. The beast sneezes violently, trotting off, as if insulted by the science denial. You kneel, cheek pressed to the good log's bark. A resin droplet beads where the elder's knife bit deepest. The scent sharpens, pine meeting seaweed with a hint of rainwater trapped in stone. Historians still argue whether ancient builders revered scent as divine guidance or just botany encrypted through millennia. Your sinuses vote for both. Game time. She blindfolds you with bark cloth, its bitter tannins stinging tear ducts. Rot or riches. A splintered plank hits your palms. First sample, it reeks of locker room towels. Shipworm buffet, you declare. Second wafts gym socks marinated in kombucha. Termite airbimb. Third, nothing but sun-baked pumice. The elder stays silent. Fourth fragment, your nose twitches. moss after snowfall, charcoal-filtered spring, scents you'd pay boutique candle prices for. Launch ready. The blindfold snaps off, you're staring at driftwood. She cackles at your betrayal. Ocean board this 1-5, winters, smells wise, useless. Sunset brings the real test. She rubs 7 bark samples, with crushed noni fruit, sweetness overriding all. Your nostrils burn, failed perfume chemist's lab. But wait, sample 3 beneath the fruity assault, a whisper of slate. You point. She nods once, the gruffest compliment. Stars emerge as she demonstrates the sniff walk. 10 paces upwind, inhale through left nostril only. Your septum objects, this feels like yoga gone feral, yet patterns emerge, dank earth equals digestible fiber, citrus hints, signal cellulose breakdown. 1 log smells inexplicably of burnt hair, home to a bored lightning strike. Midnight finds you slurping bitter tea, allegedly clearing nasal passages. The elder tosses a reeking sack at your feet. Inside, moldy bark shavings bubbling with nematodes. Sleep, here dream of breathing. You suspect this is hazing. But Polynesian apprentices once meditated in compost pits for months. Civilizations overrated anyway. Dawn reveals your new normal bark. Scents now scream louder than colors. That fresh cutting by camp. Screams of fungal invasion. The rotten log downhill. A choir of moist promise. Your coffee tastes like filtered air, all senses rewired. The elder disappears for 3 tides, returning with a canoe seat carved from your chosen logs. Its scent survives varnish, an earthy hum beneath lacquer. She positions it facing Maui's shrine, where wood once outlives those who shaped it, still breathing centuries after lungs turn to salt. Rainwater pools in the tiny pits, each no wider than a sand flea's eye. You kneel for closer inspection. The elders chuckle, rumbling like distant thunder. Weevil love letters, she mutters, tapping a warped paddle against your shin. 3 holes form a lopsided triangle on the driftwood bench. Your pinky barely fits. The tunnels underneath squirm with larval secrets. 18th century Hawaiian canoe guilds documented these infestations on bark scrolls, complete with beetle-repelling chants lost during missionary bonfires. The elder spits noni juice into the nearest hole. The wood hisses like a stepped-on centipede. Listen. She presses your ear to the grain. Faint crunching, 1,000 jaws gnawing in Morse code. Some claim you can estimate infestation depth by counting crunches between heartbeats, though modern entomologists call it romanticized nonsense. You count 7 crunches. The elder smirks. 7 tides to collapse a quick death for lazy listeners. Resin collecting becomes your new obsession. You stalk ohia lehua trees at dawn, waiting for amber tears. The trick: carve spiral wounds, never straight ones. Ancient Fijian remedies mixed this sap with crushed paw shells for hull repairs. Their canoes leaked less than British frigates during Cook's arrival. Your batch bubbles neon orange in the cookpot, smelling like burnt marshmallows and regret. Application demands ritual. Warm resin flows thicker. You stir with an albatross bone needle. The elder watches as you daub each hole, sealing tunnels like cauterizing wounds. Women's work, she snorts, though history proves men always botched these repairs. Your fingers blister, the resin hardens into glassy pustules. Night brings tests. You float treated wood in tide pools. Moonlit water seeps through 2 patches. The elder tosses cowrie shells at failed seals, your shame measured in iridescent shrapnel. Resin lies, she croaks. Shows off hardness, hides brittleness like that tick-tock surfer who married the wahine fake smiling. Dawn reveals worse betrayals. New holes pepper the canoe's prow, clean circles mocking your careful plugs. The weevils rerouted their tunnels, detouring around sap like army ants, avoiding vinegar. You spot fresh frass, sawdust flecked with eggshell blue. Certain Maori traditions interpreted colored frass as weather omens, azure meaning storms from the east. The elder hands you a koa-wood mallet. Time to court the enemy, striking specific rhythms on infected planks. Allegedly drives larvae into frenzy. They'll emerge for easy picking. You dub it death metal for beetles. 2 hours of drumming yields 3 confused weevils, their antennae twitching like disappointed fans. Hunger becomes your teacher. Starved planks get submerged during high tide, salt water bloating the tunnels. By low tide, shuddering larvae crawl out, drowning in air they've never breathed. You count casualties, 30, 50, a massacre of miniature proportions. Historians still argue whether these purges qualified as ecological management or petty insect genocide. Desperation breeds innovation. You weave jackfruit fibers into hair-thin plugs, dipping them in bitter, a war plant poison. Insertion feels like performing surgery on a splinter. Patience, fraying with each snapped thread. 6 hours later, the holes stay dry until midnight's tide licks your repairs into gelatinous sludge. The elder finds you glaring at weevil illustrations. A 1923 entomology manual spread across palm fronds. Books talk, trees whisper, she grunts, yanking a gray hair from your head. Demonstrating, she threads it into a fresh hole, twisting until a larval mandible bites the strand. See, even pests appreciate good protein. Final gamble fire. You smolder QQE nuts below infected planks, smoke seeping into tunnels. It works mostly. 2 days later, charred weevils litter the canoe, but smoke residue weakens the wood's flexibility. The elder snaps a treated plank over her knee, a clean break where grain once bent like a gymnast. Never sacrifice the tree for the worm, she growls, feeding the debris to her cooking fire. Flames whisper truths, resin obscured. Sometimes death rides the same wave as survival. You inhale the lesson along with faint notes of barbecued exoskeleton. Morning light reveals larvae carcasses swirling in tide pools, silver bodies catching sun like microopals. The elder sweeps them into a kelp pouch. Fisherman's bait or maybe earrings. Her cackle follows you up the beach, where untouched trees sigh in trade's wind relief for now. Dawn streaks the lagoon pink as your toes dig into tide-washed sand, that sweet spot between soggy and parched. The elder's voice drifts from behind a ulu tree. High tide fattens, the sap low tide starves it. You press a palm to breadfruit bark, dampness clinging like a lover's kiss. 6 hours until peak low tide. You stash coconut husks in shade. Their inner fibers will blot excess moisture later. Polynesian voyagers, timed harvests with lunar charts carved into whalebone. Though modern replicas in Auckland's museum use 3D printed resin, the bark feels supple now, dangerously easy to peel. Too eager, the elder warns. Sap-drunk wood warps faster than a politician's promise. Midday sun hammers the coast. You return to find the breadfruit sweating amber beads, sap rising with the incoming tide. Historians still argue whether this was intentional biology observation or happy accident from fishing schedules. Your thumbnail scores a test line, peeling upward, reveals fibers taut as fiddle strings. 17th century Tahitian logs mention using coconut milk to lubricate stubborn strips. You opt for spit instead. Low tide exhales, retreating to reveal salt-crusted rocks. The bark now crackles underhand, dry, as attacks auditor's humor. You unwrap a paw shell blade, its edge honed on basalt stones. Cutting against the grain here would be a rookie mistake like microwaving poi. Each strip curls away clean, no sticky residue. Good, the elder nods. Dry bark holds memories better, less chatter when carving. Twilight brings the real test. You press fresh strips to your cheek, cool side for sap content, warm for flexibility. One piece snaps like a biscuit, too brittle. Another bends 45 degrees before protesting the sweet spot. Tension headaches bloom behind your eyes, or maybe it's the fermented octopus snack the elder force-fed you earlier. Nightfall complicates everything. Moonlight plays tricks on texture, ridges look smoother, valleys shallower. You resort to Braille navigation, fingertips mapping valleys like a lover's spine. The elder swears black kauri resin improves night vision. You're 90% sure she's messing with you. Morning vindication arrives with a half-carved hull. The wood holds its curve, no buckling from yesterday's sap. You catch the elder comparing your work to Marshall Islands stick charts, crude-looking, but functionally flawless. She tosses a challenge. Now do it blindfolded during a tsunami. Trade winds shift, bringing the salty tang of impending rain. You rush to seal harvested strips in woko leaves, while the elder casually mentions these tides won't align again for 19 moons. Pressure mounts like a coral reef headache. One misstep now could mean warped planks, or worse, admitting she was right. Final inspection happens at water's edge. The hull fragment floats steady, no wobble, no spin. You're ready to preen until she hurls a ripe mango into the lagoon. Fetch it, she grins. The wood barely sways as you paddle sea spray mixing with mango juice on cracked lips. Stars emerge as you beach the fragment. The elder wordlessly arranges Illima flowers along its edge, a fragile crown for a newborn vessel somewhere beyond the reef. Tides turn, again carrying the salt-scrubbed scent of tomorrow's work. Dawn bleeds into the lagoon. Its light exposes a grove of breadfruit lookalines, too symmetrical to trust. The elder kicks a trunk. It answers with the wrong timbre, a marimba note among bass drums. Moi's Folly, she names it, referencing the trickster who tried to slow the sun. Your fingers glide over mimic bark, same ridges, same warmth, until a telltale grit emerges. She slams a seashell against the trunk. Instead of clean fibers, splinters fly like poorly aimed confetti. Dead giveaway, she mutters. 19th century missionaries documented this wood's use in counterfeit tikis, sold to sailors as authentic artifacts. Like a fresh scrape, bitterness coats your tongue like battery acid. Real ulu bark tastes green and earthy. This lie stings like internet pop-up ads. Rain rolls in, warping the game. Moisture plumps the imposter's bark, texture perfecting itself like a catfish profile picture. You almost fall for it until the elder shoves a termite's nest against the trunk. Insects flee. Their refusal to nibble screams louder than any warning. Even pests have standards, she smirks. Legends claim these trees grew from a betrayed navigator's bones, though carbon dating suggests they're just evolved jerks. Midday sun hardens the bark, its true nature resurrected. Your peeling tool snags on hidden resin pockets, sticky as a teenager's gym socks. European traders once shipped tons of this wood to Marseille. Their Polynesian canoes dissolved faster than sugar in a hurricane. Historians still argue whether the bitterness evolved as pest resistance or cosmic payback for human arrogance. The elder forces an endurance test. Rub 2 strips together. Genuine bark smolders with a cedar scent. The mimic emits fumes like burnt plastic. Your eyes water, she cackles, tossing salt over her shoulder to confuse the tree's spirit. Anthropologists found similar salt rituals in Guam, though reviews suggest it's just performance art. Twilight demands solutions. You soak suspect bark in seawater. The frauds bloat like expired rice cakes. Watch the seams, the elder commands. Authentic strips expand evenly. The fakes crack like dried mud. 18th century Tahitian carvings show chiefs flaming these trees ceremonially. Modern fire marshals would have vetoed the whole tradition. By nightfall, your pile of approved bark resembles a meager tip jar haul. The elder inspects each strip, flicking rejects into a pit of shame, housing beats, headphones, and participation trophies. Taste the last one. She orders it sweet. Your relieved grin dies as she adds, "That's how they get you." Moonlight reveals microfractures you'd sworn weren't there. Humility arrives, sharp and salt-crusted. Stars twinkle above as the elder tosses a mimic seed pod It bounces off your forehead with insulting accuracy. Sleep light, she warns. Tomorrow we hunt the double deceiver. Your groan harmonizes with the surface somewhere. Moi laughs. Morning digs its nails into your back. The double deceiver turns out to be a mahogany wrapped in Koa's signature crackled hide. The elder feeds you lies with a straight face. This one's a sweetheart, total pushover, while handing you a knife duller than a butter spatula. Start low, they say. Angle the blade upward, peel a strip wide as your palm. Sap oozes like the trees, apologizing or plotting revenge. 17th century Hawaiian kapo. Laws dictated specific harvesting seasons. Violators faced execution for overstripping. Your hands shake, remembering that tidbit until the elder slaps a mosquito off your neck. They only beheaded the stupid ones, she clarifies. Idiots who peeled bark clockwise. The island of Ratuma took it further, wrapping stripped trunks in coconut fiber bandages. Anthropologists found bark healing chants buried in missionary diaries right between recipes for spam casserole. You carve a crescent moon into the trunks, north side, lightning scar as your guide. One strip per handspan, never more. The elder watches like a hawk on energy drinks. Sloppy, she snorts when your sixth cut veers starboard. Greedy when your seventh tries to cheat an inch. True story, a surgeon in Fiji adapted these techniques for skin grafts. In 1982, swore coconut sap outperformed medical adhesive. Halfway up the trunk, your blade hits resistance, a burl the size of a rugby ball. Historians still argue whether partial harvesting truly doubled tree lifespans or just made better campfire stories. Rot hides here, black veins spreading like cracked pavement. The elder makes you lick it. Spoiler, it's never maple syrup. Twilight brings the true test. You daub the wound with fermented mangrove paste, stinks like a frat house carpet. Seal it tight, the elder commands. Or the termites will RSVP to an all-you-can-eat buffet. Legends say peeled trees sing at midnight, low hums felt through bare feet. You stay up to listen, get crickets and indigestion instead. By dawn, the stripped section weeps amber tears. Good, the elder nods. Means it's not dead inside like your ex. Modern arborists call this compartmentalization, trees walling off damage. Ancient ones called it the breath of Tagaloa. Either way, you're banned from touching this trunk for 7 monsoons. GPS tag it with shark teeth and seashells, the original Google Calendar. Your final task, threaten a neighboring sapling. Tell it to grow sideways, the elder insists, or we'll be back. You deliver the ultimatum in bad Samoan. She facepalms hard enough to leave bark imprints. Bonus fact, Cook Islanders tied rocks to young trunks as motivational tools. Survival of the weightedest. The elder pockets your best strip, says it'll become a baby's cradle. Waste the bark, waste the soul, she recites. You bury the wood shavings under crushed coral, not a speck left for theft or tide. Somewhere, a nursery rhyme about sustainable forestry gets stuck in your head. It slaps, honestly. Stars emerge as you hike back, salt crusting your knife blade. The elder flicks a beetle off your shoulder. Next lesson, how to apologize to the ones you've skinned. Your stomach growls in harmony. Above, the half-peeled tree creaks, maybe laughing, maybe healing. Either way, it's got better boundaries than your therapist. Blisters thicken your palms as the elder tosses you banana fibers, scratchy threads hungry for purpose. Bark's not done teaching, she says, unfurling a coil of sun-bleached rope. You recognize the pattern, 3 strands twisted counterclockwise, same as 12th century Tahitian canoe lashings. Modern sailors would kill for this tensile strength if they could stomach the stench of fermented coconut oil. Twist, braid, repeat. Your fingers mimic the elder's arthritis-defying dance. Left over right, swallow the ends. The bark strips cling like stubborn lovers, still resin sticky from their tree. In Tonga, warriors once bound spearheads with turtle dung reinforced cordage. Historians debate whether it was for strength or psychological warfare. You're leaning toward the latter. Stop squinting, the elder snaps. Rope listens through your skin, not your eyeballs. A splintered strand proves her point. Its roughness whispers of a drought year's stunted growth. You rework the section, humming a Marquesan nodding chant under your breath. Bonus fact, NASA studied these techniques for zero-gravity tether experiments in 1998. Every completed yard gets dipped in shark liver slurry. The elder swears it repels salt rot. Your nostrils stage a mutiny. Complainers sleep with the remeras. She warns, dangling a skunky jar over your head. Centuries later, the rope bites into fresh-cut planks as you bind hull to outrigger. Traditional Senate lashings use over 900 feet of cordage per canoe. Your forearms sob at the math. Tighter, growls the elder, testing, give with a serrated clamshell. Looseness drowns villages. That's when you spot it. A single bark fiber gleaming copper bright among its dull siblings. The elder freezes. Bark chooses its heir, she murmurs. Legend claims these strands house ancestor spirits, crewmates during long voyages. Skeptics call it pareidolia, until they've faced a rogue wave guided by unseen hands. You weave the glowing thread into the captain's grip, final anchor, point between worlds. Rain begins as you knot the last hitch. Drops sizzle against still sticky resin, binding what hands alone cannot. Some say the first canoe builders copied spiderwebs, others insist it was the other way around. The elder slices leftover rope into prayer tokens, each fragment tattooed with tide charts. Children will wear these as necklaces, their skin absorbing salt from the fibers. Archaeologists once found a 600-year-old Senate necklace in Rarotonga, still reeking of ambition and low tide. Nightfall brings the unveiling. You scrub pitch from your nails as the tide licks the canoe's belly. Suddenly, luminosity. Those copper threads now pulse faintly, mapping unseen currents. The elder smirks at your dropped jaw. GPS for people who don't cheat. Frogs croak the hour when Bark's spirit supposedly awakens. You press an ear to the hull, hear nothing but creaks and your caffeine-deprived heartbeat. Yet, when dawn starves the darkness, the canoe sits different, straighter, hungrier. Feed it, the elder commands, tossing you a basket of spoiled taro. You scatter tubers across the outrigger, watch them roll toward specific knots like iron to magnets. The boat's memorizing ballast points, she explains. Or it's just racist against root vegetables. By noon, every fiber knows its role. The elder burns the remaining scraps, ash to grease the hull's maiden voyage. Smoke coils form shapes even skeptics recognize. Fish, waves, the Big Dipper pirouetting. Your last task: pluck a single hair, burn it with the bark. So the boat recognizes your stupidity and avoids it. Waves christen the canoe as you drag it shoreward. Salt water hardens the lashings, final alchemy. That copper thread winks once before fading, or maybe you imagined it. Doesn't matter, the ocean's already whispering the rope's true name, 3 vowels you'll spend decades trying to pronounce. Salt crusts your lips as dawn unveils the canoe's first gift, a driftwood log lodged in tidal rocks, its bark's long gone, polished smooth by 1,000 nautical miles. You press your cheek to its surface, cool as a shark's belly, humming with places your feet will never touch. Maritime records show Polynesians tracked driftwood routes to predict island chains, though GPS-era scientists still mock the practice. A splintered end resembles fingers reaching, or maybe just Pareidolia's cruel joke. You chip at it with a pumice stone. Flecks reveal heartwood the color of storm clouds, likely koa from Hawaii's drowned forests. An 1873 whaling log mentions crewmen carving driftwood into liar's dice, loaded by saltwater warp. You pocket a shard anyway, what's luck but stubbornness with a story. The elder finds you grinding resin into the wood's fissures. Stop that, she snaps. Driftwood's scars aren't for fixing. Her knife peels a curl thinner than papyrus, translucent sheet trembling in the breeze. Historians still argue whether ancient navigators used these flakes as makeshift charts or just toilet paper for desperate voyages. You hold the ribbon to the sun, veins map whirlpools and atolls. Coordinates, the elder mutters, if you're brave enough. Her laugh wrinkles the air like reef waves. A faded tattoo on her wrist matches the pattern you pretend not to notice. By noon, you've built a shrine of sorts, driftwood arranged in a spiral mimicking the Milky Way's tail. The elder tosses a candle nut into the center. Watch close. Fire consumes the offering, smoke writhes into a helix. Some say wind-carved driftwood contains Coriolis, fingerprints. Others blame bad hallucinogens in missionary breadfruit. Your driftwood shard warms unexpectedly, not from sunlight. Odorless, precise. You drop it into a tide pool. Rainbows bloom around the submerged wood, a petroleum slick. Whale oil. The elder rolls her eyes. Chemicals, she scoffs. We called it sea blood before your lab coat prophets started naming God. Nightfall brings colder winds and regrets. Should have guessed the elder's next test. She makes you float nude on the driftwood for skin lessons. Moonlight etches every splinter into your back. Feel the Pacific's pulse yet. She taunts from shore. You're mostly feeling hypothermia. But then a vibration, not waves, deeper, rhythmic. The log tilts fractionally northeast with each invisible surge. You've read about Soviet subs mapping ocean floors here in the 70s, but this pulse feels alive. Ancient, hungry. The elder wades in, yanking you ashore. Took you long enough. She stabs the driftwood with a bone all sap oozes black. Ironwood doesn't rot, but it remembers. Her blade digs out a lead musket ball, early British contact era. The wood grew around it, like a scar swallowing a bullet. You spend days sorting driftwood by scent rotten mango, nuclear test sites, whale songs. Only the odorless pieces earn boat repairs. Archaeologists found a 14th century Tongan paddle spliced with driftwood patches. Carbon dating revealed wood from British Columbia. Historians still argue whether it proves pre-European trans-Pacific contact or just really ambitious beavers. One bleached branch hums when stroked resonant as a tuning fork. The elder lashes it to the canoe's prow as a wave whistle. Modern sailors use foghorns. Your ears prefer the ancestors' version. Mostly, months later, storm winds shred your sail. The driftwood patch holds mostly. Saltwater numbs your hands as you suture gaps with senet cordage. That humming branch predicts swells 10 seconds before they hit, barely enough time to vomit ceremonially. You dream of driftwood that night, not the usual nightmares. This log sprouts eyes and teeth and a Finnish cargo ship's logo from 1962. When you report this, the elder nods. Wood's a sponge, even for foreign things. She shows you her thigh, a scar matching a driftwood knot's twist. From my wedding night. Don't ask. By voyage's end, you've developed habits. Collecting splinters. Talking to wharf posts. Tourists snap photos. You're probably a TikTok ghost story now. The elder just grins, brewing kelp tea from a driftwood boiled pot. Try it. Tastes like Portugal. Final dawn reveals your canoe's fate, barnacled hull, returning to the beach. Driftwood fragments cling like jealous suitors. You peel one free. It leaves a brine-filled groove in the wood. The elder calls it a memory socket. Marine biologists call it rot. You call it proof. Star Rise finds you arranging new driftwood fragments, this time in the shape of your name. Tide erases it within minutes. Good. Let the sea rehearse its lies for the next fool. Your pocket still bulges with that first shard, now warm as a nesting turtle's egg. The elder disappears at low tide, no farewell. Just an extra driftwood figurine on your sleeping mat. It's you, mid-sneeze. Accuracy hurts. You toss it into your shrine spiral. Let the next apprentice wonder. Years later, Another storm unearths your collection. Teens film the driftwood's bioluminescent glow for Instagram. You sip moon-shaded kava, whispering, "Sea blood, let them laugh." The logs still whisper, and you've learned 9 ways to listen. Damp soil cakes under your nails as you kneel at the forest's rejection pit, a shallow grave for unworthy wood. The failed plank rests heavy in your lap, its bark still clinging like a shamed child to its mother's skirt. Your knife hesitates. Traditional chants demand you sing the tree's death before burial. But your throat's raw from yesterday's saltwater inhalations. Archaeologists found similar pits near Rapa Nui's quarries, centuries-old logs wrapped in fern leaves instead of bark. You improvise with pandanus fronds slippery, but they'll rot faster. The elder once joked these graves were nature's take-back policy, forest warranties gone soggy. Twine bites your palms as you lash the wood into a cocoon, knots tight enough to strangle hope. Some carvers whisper the bark skin regrows underground, nourishing new saplings with ancestral memory. You half expect the bundle to squirm. Give it 20 years, and a gullible apprentice. Moonlight guides you to the burial grounds, a grove where shadows hum with mycorrhizal gossip. Each pit bears markers, coral shards for storm-warped timber, shark teeth for wood that cracked mid-carving. You're burying a liar today, bark that promised flexibility, but snapped like a spinal cord. Digging awakens dormant scents, root fungus, and the acrid tang of regret. Your blistered hands argue with the shovel. You win through sheer spite. The bundle drops with a thud heard only by night herons. Historians still argue whether these burials fertilized new growth or just fed termites with masterpieces that almost were. Soil padding becomes ritual, palm slaps to jumpstart decomposition. 3 strikes, 5, 7. The elder catches you at 11. Odd numbers confuse evil spirits, she scolds, tossing a ripe noni fruit into the pit. Rot accelerates tonight, sweet stench guaranteed. Morning reveals your folly. Wild pigs have exhumed the bundle, tearing fronds to shreds. The exposed wood gleams accusatorily. Village kids snicker as you rebury it deeper. One boy imitates your chant in a falsetto squeal. You resist the urge to bury him up to his neck. Worms colonize the grave. By week's end, their iridescent bodies winking like tarnished jewelry. Micronesian folklore claims these creatures are censors, gobbling up failed artisans' shame. You sprinkle crushed seashells as compromise both apology and armor. Rain transforms the burial into a quagmire. Frogs lay eggs in the waterlogged pit. Their tadpoles will feast on wood tannins. A botanist once told you certain ferns here grow only where canoe wood decays, their spores triggered by lignan's death throes. You never verified this, but the thought comforts. Harvest season brings vindication. A breadfruit sapling erupts from the grave, its bark smooth as a dolphin's back. Children hang shark vertebrae in its branches, DIY wind chimes clattering like a skeleton's applause. The elder inspects the trunk, sniffing deeply. Still smells like your terrible knots, she declares. Victory stings worse than defeat. Years later, lightning splits the young tree, revealing a resonance chamber in its core. Carvers shape it into a hue drum. Its beat echoes the exact cadence of your shovel slaps. Tourists buy recordings as anxiety relief tracks. You don't correct them. The original failed plank surfaces during a hurricane washed ashore miles south. Barnacles crust its surface, nature's critique rendered in calcium carbonate. You burn it ceremonially, ash merges with beach soil. No saplings grow here, but the bonfire's shadow dances like a fleet of ghost canoes. Mornings now find you scribbling notes for apprentices. Bury regrets deep, but mark the map. Your shovel leans against the hut, rusty yet reliable. Let the next generation argue with worms and pigs. You've made peace with the pit's hunger mostly. Last week, a toddler handed you a burial kit, twigs wrapped in candy foil. His mother mouthed play along. You interred them under moonlight, bestowing pretend blessings. The boy's laughter shook mango blossoms loose, a different kind of growth cycle. Tonight's pit cradles nothing but your old knife, edge dulled from years of hacking at imperfection. Soil accepts it without complaint. You leave the handle protruding, an unmarked headstone for blades that forgot how to bite. Dawn finds the handle already sprouting fungi, frilly orange caps like ceremonial headdresses. Ants march in formation, licking the rust. You walk away before sentimentality roots you to the spot. Some burials aren't for mourning, just composting yesterday's skin. The sea breeze carries a new scent, young bark breathing deep, stretching toward distant waves. Let it dream of becoming hulls, or drums, or failures. You'll be here, spade in hand, when it circles back to earth. Your fingers brush against bark ribbons, soaking in tide pools, each strip softened by salt and secrets. Women's laughter drifts from the weaving hut, a sound like bamboo wind chimes with attitude. Inside, grandmothers teach teenagers to split how bark into threads thinner than gilt. Their legs brace against wooden beams, heels digging grooves older than their great-grandmother's boredom. Polynesian navigation texts often omit this. Voyages depended on women's fingernails. Too long, they'd snag fibers. Too short, no grip for twisting. You watch a master trim hers with a clamshell edges filed sharp as star charts. Tongan royalty reportedly paid in pearl oysters for master weavers, though receipts are suspiciously absent. The real alchemy happens at the caulking trough. Sticky breadfruit sap steams in a dugout canoe, its surface swirling with crushed coral and rumors. A teenager groans as she stirs the pot. Feels like taro paste. Her aunt flicks a wood chip at her. Taro doesn't seal a hull worth squat during monsoons. They dip bark threads into the sap, coating them into nautical floss. Historians still argue whether women invented this technique during lunar eclipses or just recycled fishing net methods. You side-eye a weaver plaiting strands with her eyes, closed her hands, moving faster than a frigate bird's dive. Ropes get braided around greenwood pegs, each twist tested by biting. Teeth marks become quality stamps. One elder shows her molars, flattened from decades of gnawing lashings. Better than wedding rings, she chuckles, spitting out a fiber fragment. Coral Nation podcasts would have loved her. Down the beach, men pretend not to watch. Their adzes carve hulls, but the real magic hides in these seams. A weaver whispers the trick. Press caulking into gaps. During high tide, saltwater swells fibers, locking planks tighter than a stingray's hug. Forget epoxy. These joints hold centuries if you sing to them nightly. Someone's toddler waddles in sticky hands, grabbing at sap-coated strands. Instead of scolding, the women wrap her fingers in bark bandages. Now she's helping, sort of. The caulking paddle gains 3 tiny handprints. Tomorrow's problem. Night falls with a rhythm section, a dozen mallets pounding cordage into hull crevices. Each thud echoes the heartbeat you felt since entering the hut. The master weaver inspects your palm, traces calluses formed by shovel handles, not threads. Different tools, same ocean. She mutters, pressing your hand against a finished seam. It's warmer than expected, like touching sun-baked stone. No gaps, no give. Just the quiet hum of materials that remember being trees and tides. You half expect the canoe to whisper its destination. A commotion erupts near the fire pit. The sap pots overflows, cursing teenagers, hissing embers. The elder intervenes with a palm frond broom, whacking the mess into something resembling control. 20 years to learn, 30 to stop caring, she tells the smoke. Dawn finds the village painted in sap footprints. Ants march toward the hut, a glittering trail of opportunistic ambition. The women ignore them, brewing seaweed tea in a kettle with 6 patch jobs. You sip from a coconut shell. It tastes like yesterday's mistakes and tomorrow's tide tables. As they launch the caulked canoe, saltwater licks the hull, testing every seam. Not a single bubble rises. The weavers nod, more bored than impressed. You notice 3 handprints glowing underwater, the toddler's accidental signature. A girl etch-a-sketching her way into history. When the fleet departs at sunset, the caulking hut smells of burnt sap and ambition. Someone's left a half-finished bracelet on your sleeping mat, bark, fibers woven into crash test patterns. It itches your wrist, but you'll wear it until the sea says otherwise. Moonlight puddles on your knife blade, its edge already singing the shape of tomorrow's cut. Above, the Southern Cross hangs crooked tonight, or maybe it's your neck cramp from 8 hours of squinting. Someone hands you a kava bowl. It tastes like muddy reassurance. You relearn the sky through Bark's eyes. Constellations aren't pinpricks, but blade guides. The keel of Tagaloa sprawls west, its stars map where to notch the prow. Historians agree Polynesians navigated by stars. Few mention they carved wood by them too. A kahuna mutters standards. Grain lines must chase Hokule's angle at solstice dawn. His calloused thumb blocks Arcturus, forcing your eye toward lesser stars. The shy ones matter most, they're better listeners. Bark peels differently under celestial scrutiny. What seemed smooth by day now ripples, subtle ridges aligning with Sirius' trajectory. You scratch a line where Orion's belt kisses the horizon. The wood splits cleaner there, proof or placebo. Someone's radio crackles weather updates. Jet stream meets ancestral wisdom. A teen snickers, comparing star charts to GPS screens. His grandfather flicks a termite at him. Satellites can't smell termites in green wood. The quirky bit they'll deny at conferences. Certain bark textures reflect starlight better. Look for the dull patches, sections that refuse to echo Cassiopeia's W. Those grains fought the tree's upward reach and lost. Midnight brings the Draco test. You lay adze handles northward, handles that tilt toward the dragon's tail get retired. Too much dragonfire energy supposedly warps hulls. An anthropologist once published this as metaphor. Local carvers mailed him a warped salad bowl. Your blade nicks a knot. Blood or sap pools, you can't tell which. The master smirks. Good. Now the canoe knows your name. Historians still argue whether star-aligned canoes actually sailed straighter, or just gave crews psychological trim tabs. You run a palm down the cut edges, humming like tuning forks. Maybe both. Venus rises as you mark the stern. Its blush reveals stress lines in the grain. Aphrodite's gossip. The kahuna grumbles. She always leaks secrets before dawn. Silence follows. Nobody admits knowing Greco-Roman myths here. A debate ignites over Scorpius. Two factions. Those who follow the claw's angle for crossbeams versus tail curve loyalists. You split the difference, carving a hybrid notch that pleases no one. By 3 a.m., the wood whispers complaints. Palm fronds swarm with frustrated carvers. Stars shift, but good grain stays honest, someone mutters. You check your earlier cuts. True enough, moon shadows changed, but your blade marks still track Matariki's drift. Dew soaks through your tapa cloth, annoying, but useful. Damp bark shows its true grain. A shooting star streaks east. 5 carvers spit in unison, an old charm against splintered wood. You mimic them. Tastes like salt and skepticism. When seabirds start their pre-dawn screech, you're tracing the mast's curve against Taurus. Aldebaran winks through a knothole. The kahuna nods approval. Bullseye. It's the first compliment he's uttered since the Nixon administration. Your final cut follows Corona Borealis, the crown's arch mirrored in wood. Planing the edge, you smell morning frost on bark or maybe exhaustion hallucinations. Either way, it sings. Workers drag the finished hull seaward. It leaves grooves in wet sand, temporarily mirroring Cygnus overhead. Someone jokes about selling star-mapped canoes to Elon Musk. Laughter fades as the keel hits water and sits perfect. No wobble. The kahuna grips your shoulder, his thumb denting your collarbone. Stars talk, wood listens. You want to ask which constellation predicts Advil shortages. Instead, you nod. Your knife arm throbs approval. First light reveals the truth. What felt mystical at midnight now looks methodical. Angular cuts, precise bevels. You rub wood dust from your eyes. A teen hands you coffee in a coconut shell. Google Maps on the hull next time. You flick a wood chip into his drink. Tradition demands it. As crews lash the outrigger, you spot your hybrid Scorpius notch underwater. It catches sunlight, or maybe Sirius. Either way, the sea approves. Waves slap rhythm against the hull, Morse code for good enough. Midsummer haze blurs the horizon, sea and sky baking into a single copper sheet. Your knife rests idle, an insult to its whetstone-sharp hunger. You trace a thumb over once supple bark, now brittle as burnt toast. 3 weeks of unrelenting sun did this. An elder kicks sand over your bare foot. Her glare needs no translation. Put the damn tools down. Historians note Polynesian lunar calendars tracked optimal harvest times, but none documented this forced downtime. The silent season. Salt crystallizes on your lips. Everything crackles, dried pandanus leaves, distant waves, adolescent carvers drumming idle chisels. Someone suggests microwaving the wood. Laughter dies when a kahuna side-eyes the joker. Here's the quirky bit whispered between sips of ava. Certain geckos darken their tails when trees enter this dormant phase. You spot one scampering up a sun-bleached trunk, its lime green appendage now charcoal. The kahuna nods nature's do not disturb sign. Bark that sang in spring now mocks you, flaking like eczema under fingernail tests. You recall April's treasure hunt, peeling back layers damp with monsoon breath. Now, even termites retreat to shaded cracks. A tourist skipper motors past, shouting about reef tour. His hull's fiberglass wine underscores why you wait. Modern materials don't sweat under solar tantrums, but they also don't flex with swells like living wood. Your knuckles brush a trunk. Heat radiates not life, but stored fury. Indigenous harvest calendars matched tree sap cycles long before dendrochronology became a $10 word. Yet, Western museums still display canoe carvings dated wrong by half a century. Shadows shrink toward noon. You crouch where tide pools simmer, steam rising like ghost kelp. A teen lobs a pumice stone. It bounces off parched wood with a hollow clack. The kahuna mutters, "Throw your grandma next." Same sound. Historians still argue whether the silent season protected timber or carvers. Sun madness was real. An 1802 missionary journal describes a woodcutter trying to shave the ocean's beard with an adze. You retreat to the shade of a naupaka shrub. Its half-flowers stare. Legends say they're lovers separated by the sea. A useful metaphor for you and functional bark right now. Nightfall brings no relief. Stars emerge, but their guidance feels taunting. You attempt a moonlit inspection. The master intercepts you, palm flat against your chest. Even Namak Okahe rests her waves. You'll split the grain sideways. Dew tries and fails to settle at dawn. Brittle bark repels moisture like rainproof thatch. You pocket a crumbly sample. It disintegrates before lunch, a dusty lesson in natural deadlines. By week 3, even seagulls minimize perching on the cursed trees. Their droppings streak trunks like guano graffiti. Abandon all hope. You compile a mental list of alternative projects: net mending, anchor polishing, watching paint mimic the ocean's patience. A grad student arrives with a core sampler. He brags about dating timber via tree rings. The kahuna lets him drill once. The extracted cylinder shows 20 perfect circles. See, drought years. He crows. The elder flips the sample sideways. Rings become ripples or currents. She tosses it into the shallows. It floats, a miniature canoe for ants. You find compromised barks upside, firewood. Evening flames devour its pretense, sap hissing like cheated gamblers. Smoke coils into the shape cane, once used to sculpt humans from clay. Or maybe it's just smoke. Dreams get strange during stagnation. You envision bark regenerating at midnight, sprinting to the trees with a lantern. Reality greets you with the same parched cracks. A frigate bird's screech laughs at your optimism. Salvation comes in liquid form, not rain, but a nosebleed. Yours. Blood droplets hit a trunk and steam on contact. The kahuna stuffs, moss up your nostril. Save that ferocity for autumn, he chides. You count tidal patterns to stay sane. 7 high tides, 12 low, 18 mid-range sloshes. Ancient Hawaiians named moon phases after canoe parts: hilo, twisted cordage; temuku, cutting. You invent a new phase: makalio, parched knife. Dawn of the 28th day. A mist rolls in rare for leeward shores. Bark drinks greedily, then buckles. You're first to notice the change: pliable ridges rising like sleeping dragons stirred by humidity. The kahuna watches you trace the transformed surface. His nod takes 3 seconds, an eternity in mentor time. Tools reappear, but your hand hesitates. What if it's a trick? Another mirage? You press a thumbnail deep, moisture beads, but doesn't retreat. Somewhere, a gecko's tail brightens to electric green. When steel finally meets wood, the cut hisses, not a scream, but a sigh. Curls of fresh cambium drop like spiral galaxies. The master flicks one into his hair, a badge of resumed purpose. Late August would knows urgency, he says. You don't ask how. Some lessons brew in silence, or in 38 days of forced stillness. Your blade carves 2 words into the workstation's post: macalio and patience. The second tastes better than kava. Blistered palms meet revitalized wood. The post-season grain arching like a whale's spine beneath your touch. You shave a test strip. Ribbon curls cling to your forearm like amber bracelets. Each arc in the hull mirrors the tree's original curve: vertical growth transformed into horizontal purpose. A visiting anthropologist snaps photos of your progress. Form follows function. He declares, missing the point entirely. Polynesian curves honor a tree's life story, the way it stretched toward gaps in the canopy. Flat planks, that's lumberjack logic. Tombstones for arboreal ambition. Your adze hesitates near a faint spiral scar. Historians link curved hulls to Hatu Mata's legendary voyage to Rapa Nui, though his exact canoe design vanished with his final breath. You mimic the groove, an ancestral echo in fiberglass-free timber. Someone microwaves leftover poi nearby. The radio crackles, a weather report predicting swells from a southern storm. Your blade answers with deeper cuts, preemptive dialogue with incoming waves. Ribs emerge from the wood, contoured like the underside of a breaking crest. Here's the oddity no museum displays. Traditional hullbenders sometimes let shipworm larvae nibble key points, believing their glow-in-the-dark secretions highlighted weak zones. You squint at the wood, half expecting bioluminescent critiques of your chisel work. You're hogging the center. The kahuna grunts, referring to hull thickness, not lunch portions. His finger jabs a measurement only he sees. Takitimu crew drowned in 63 skimpy sides, flat bottom. Fish still avoid that reef. Sunlight angles through the workshed. Curved shavings cast leopard spot shadows, dappled light reminiscent of the tree's original forest floor. You round another edge. The motion mirrors how your great-grandmother shaped poi pounders. Some rhythms bypass textbooks. A stack of rejected planks mocks you from the corner. Modern carvers might have forced them straight. Their splintered ends bristle like porcupine quills. One sports a tourist's carved initials, JM 2023, already blurred by 2 monsoon seasons. You switch to a shark-toothed chisel. Historians still argue whether deeper hull curves aided speed or simply prevented spiritual splashing of ancestor ghosts during night voyages. The kahuna ends the debate by dumping your drinking coconut into a mock hull, minimal spillage. Morning rain slicks the workspace. Water pools in the half-carved hull, a miniature ocean testing its future self. Grain lines align with the liquid's tilt, nature auditing your geometry. A gecko slips its tail, thrashing against the unexpected slope. Lunch brings canned corned beef and fresh debate. A younger carver insists 3D printed hulls could mimic these curves. The kahuna wordlessly folds his spam tin into a crude boat. It sinks in 7 seconds. Point made. By week's end, the hull's profile haunts your periphery. It swims along the workshop wall, a shadow squid with ribs for tentacles. You dream of steering it through asteroid belts, wood grain patterns mirroring cosmic dust trails. The anthropologist returns with calipers, obsessed with symmetry. He measures each curve to the millimeter. You counter by reciting a Maori proverb about the sea's uneven breath. His spreadsheet falters. Culture can't control plus C. Final smoothing requires pounded coral grit, the same abrasive used to polish ceremonial drums. Dust coats your lashes. Each blink feels like a stubbled kiss from the ocean itself. At the blessing ceremony, salt water poured into your hull becomes a Rorschach test. Some sea fish, others sharks. You see a splinter group of wayward constellations. The kahuna nods, half approval, half battle weariness with poets. Launch day arrives. The hull meets waves with a noise like sliding silk. No fiberglass wine, just wood remembering it once swayed. Tourists' phones capture the moment. You imagine their captions. Throwback tech or eco-friendly. Nightfall reveals the true test. Bioluminescent plankton swirl in your wake, their glow pooling in the hull's curves like liquid stars. Historians might later call this art. You know better, it's just a tree keeping its spine. Salt water still drips from your paddle when the gallery owner arrives, film crew in tow. Recreate colonial failures, she insists. Most viewers crave schadenfreude with their history. You eye her designer moccasins, factory stitched, never bloodstained from bark harvests. European ships brought calipers and ledgers, tools meant to quantify the unquantifiable. They thump trunks like melons at market, listening for density, not resilience. Iron axes bit too deep, severing fibers that hand tools would have teased apart. The HMS Bounty's logs mention snapping masts made from Tahitian. Ado would know understanding that young bark's roughness signaled immaturity. A cameraman rams his lens against your workbench. Focus on the crucifix, the director orders. Your great-grandfather's carving knife, its handle shaped like a missionary's cross, gleams under artificial lights. Historians still argue whether Melanesian carvers altered blade angles to subtly sabotage colonial shipyards. The knife winks, keeper of secrets. You demonstrate colonial methods, hacking at a koa log with a replica broadaxe. Splinters fly like protest confetti. The wood splits jagged, a scream frozen in cellulose. Now explain why they failed, the producer urges. You hold up a warped plank. This isn't wood, it's trauma. Tourists snap photos. 3 teenagers yawn. Later, you'll find their abandoned Starbucks cup sweating on your tool shed windowsill, condensation warping the wood beneath. The parable writes itself. That night, you visit the Maritime Museum's Explorer exhibit. A preserved 18th century hull section looms, its oak planks still sweating salt from Cook's voyages. A placard claims termites doomed the vessel. You press your ear to the wood, hear only the smug laughter of cellulose collapsing. Someone's phone dings. The alert tone mimics a sonar ping. Here's the kicker textbooks omit. Wellington Archives hold a Tahitian chief's letter complaining about British tree deafness, dated 1789, same year Bounty mutineers fled Pitcairn. Coincidence? The curator calls it gossip. You file it under poetic justice. The documentarian demands reshoots, more pathos when the canoe sinks. You compromise by dunking a model in the hotel pool. The crew's kids cheer as it submerges, rainbow swim goggles magnifying their indifference. One shouts, "To the Titanic next." History as entertainment, another sinking ship. Your apprentice texts, a TikTok trend. Gen Z, pretending to be seaworthiness inspectors, using bathroom scales and spirit levels. You reply with a photo of bark texture. 3 question marks bounce back, generational Morse code. Rain taps Morse code 2 ... on the workshop roof. You replicate Joseph Banks' 1769 journal entry, selecting a Norfolk pine by weight alone. The resulting canoe cockpit fits his arrogance snugly, a coffin for maritime hubris. When launched, it spins like a leaf in a gutter stream. The film crew whoops, natural-born gravediggers. Someone mentions insurance premiums. Everyone ignores them. In the parking lot, the gallery owner admires her reflection in a Prius. We'll call it colonialism's boatload of failure. You correct her. It's about texture, not tonnage. She shrugs. Same difference. The car purrs, electric motors erasing the smell of sawdust. Back home, you open a 1937 forestry manual, colonial bureaucrats' photos glaring up. These men measured board feet while standing on ancestral land that remembers their boots. One figure wears a pith helmet indoors, eternally lost. Tomorrow, tourists will ask why your palms lack blisters. You'll show them Bark-Braille, raised letters in a language their touchscreen fingers can't read. A child might linger her hand, hovering over wood grain maps. For now, tide charts hum on the radio, moon-driven calculus older than any empire. The workshop clock ticks. Both hands point west. Fingernail grit still clings to your calluses when the tech bro arrives. Tablet glowing like digital fire. He swipes through bark texture presets. Bristlecone pine redux 8-bit edition. The screen shows pixelated grooves, simulated durability set to epic mode. You press a key, the image buffer catches mid-scroll, fractured edges strain to resemble growth rings, an uncanny valley for lumber. His drone hovers, snapping orthomosaic maps of your workshop. This saves weeks of field surveys. The machine winds, its shadow a black cross on sunlit cedar. You recall 1920s forestry plates, glass negatives, capturing stumps that fed entire cities. Those men also thought cameras could replace compasses. Spoiler: Chicago still burned. He demonstrates augmented reality goggles, virtual bark over real trees. A digital cicada lands on your forearm, its chirp ripped from a royalty-free soundbank. Historians still argue whether glossopterous trees, fractal patterns, inspired Moorish tilework. The goggles claim otherwise, algorithmic pareidolia forcing connections. You remove the headset. Reality drifts back like tide through reef gaps. Try our Tree ID app. It mislabels mango bark as alligator skin. 15,000 downloads, 4 stars. Comments rave. So real I got splinters. Your thumb hovers over the report button. Someone coughs, a botanist from the university. Her team spent years correcting misclassified specimens in Puerto Rico's online herbarium. Digital leaves don't photosynthesize, she murmurs. The tech bro twitches, Wi-Fi withdrawal. You peel actual paper bark, its curls bouncing like springs. The tablet guy films it vertical. Instant ASMR content. His ring light bleaches the wood's amber tones. You recall Edison marketing. Plywood as liquid oak, 1923's failed flex. Dusk brings humidity. The tablet warms with error messages, overheating. You offer cool water in a gourd. He declines. Hydration apps require 3-step verification. His drone dies mid-flight, plummets into fiddle leaf ferns. Later, you sand planks under starling chatter. A student asks why you avoid laser scanners. You roll a Nikko palm frond over her phone screen. The camera autofocuses on a speck of dust. DeepMind once trained AI on 50,000 bark samples. It kept selecting Chernobyl pines as ideal, hallucinating resilience from radiation scars. The project lead quit to raise alpacas. When the moon silvers the workshop, you shut down entirely. Power tools sleep. A single lamp glows, incandescent bulb echoing firelight. The tech brochures curl in the damp. Archaeologists found Sumerian tablets complaining about counterfeit reed quality. Sound familiar. You chuck a wood chip at the recycling bin. Miss 3, a M emails ping subject line. Progress. You attach photos of fresh shavings. The auto-reply says, "This mailbox dreams of forests." At dawn, termites breach the tech brochures. Tiny jaws shred infographics on sustainable harvesting. Justice prefers small soldiers. The apprentice arrives. New tattoo of QR code linking to tree rights petitions. It glitches. You sketch a bark glyph on her arm. Back up, you shrug. She laughs. The sound syncs with wind in palm fronds. Producers beg for CGI-enhanced docudramas. You suggest actors rub actual bark during close-ups. They ask about liability waivers for splinters. Final scene. You mail the smartphone bark scans to Greenland. Address scrawled on a salvaged FedEx box. Let those pixels freeze mid-transmission. The postal clerk licks a stamp, gum flavored with vanished forests. Your pocket buzzes. Message from the refurbished Nokia. Rain soon. You glance west. Clouds mirror Koa bark's gray tumult, nature's unrenderable gradient. The workshop door creaks, hinges oiled with last century's decisions. Rain drums the tin roof as damp apprentices trickle in their QR tattoos, glitching in humidity. You stab a thumbnail between cedar planks. The gap's width tells more than any laser scan. One girl presses her phone to the wood, comparing its bark to a centuries-old Hawaiian koa sled preserved in Oslo. They digitized the grain wrong, she mutters. The 3D model lacks resin scars, those amber tears that harden into armor. You hand her a hand lens. Try this update. She squints. Tiny beetle tracks leap into focus. Historians still argue whether Polynesian star navigation was relearned from oral chants or reverse engineered from missionary star charts. Outside, Thunder syncs with her scrolling, a tick-tock tutorial on finger-weaving senet rope. The botanist returns, no tablet this time. Her sleeve rides up, revealing a dendrochronology tattoo. Pine rings spiraling down her wrist. DeepMind's new AI mistook lichen for termite damage, she says. Deleted an entire reforestation dataset. You offer mango leaves instead. Their undersides quiver with rust-red veins. Someone's phone pings, a storm alert. Silence blooms as they power down. You pass around a century-old adze handle, its grip polished smooth by dead palms. Fingers linger where grain ripples like slowed tsunami. The app developer arrives drenched. His waterproof speaker croaks out whale songs. Ambient noise for authenticity. You snap a rimu twig. Its green fracture echoes the same pitch. Even he freezes. At midnight, a teen shows you her tree tinder app, swiping left on spalted maple. Too goth, she deadpans. You counter with a jar of ironwood sawdust, infamous for clogging 1920s band mills. She sniffs it. Ode to burnout. Dawn leaks through warped boards. A boy practices reading Bark-Braille style eyes shut. Phone, recording his mumbled observations. His ancestors' journals fill a USB drive sewn into his jacket lining. Hanoverian missionaries burned the originals in 1887. You demonstrate the itch test, rubbing paperbark against forearm stubble. Good fibers snag softly, a fabric whispered into existence. The botanist tries it. Like cashmere made of grit, old postcards claim Mary weavers used this trick for cloak linings. Experts call it folklore. You point to her reddened skin, evidence in 4K rain stops. Steam rises from hot mugs. Someone revives the Bluetooth speaker. It plays a lo-fi beat mixed with axe thunks. Two teens sync their sanding strokes to the bass. The app developer sulks. His algorithm never achieved this rhythm. You drop a warped plank. It rings like a cracked bell. 7 heads jerk up, instincts honed by rogue waves and Wi-Fi dropouts. The quiet that follows tastes like the inside of a coconut, sweet, faintly hairless. When mosquitoes storm the workshop, everyone flees except the girl with pine rings on her arm. She's grafting resin onto a router-burned edge, modern epoxy, over stone tool grooves. Your flashlight catches the seam. It glows like horizon lines at daybreak. She shows you a meme later, Elon Musk, photoshopped onto a voyaging canoe. Caption: sailing to Mars on vibes. You snort louder than intended. Archaeologists recently found 1930s graffiti in a New Zealand sawmill. Smoko breaks won't fix green timber. The botanist scribbles this on the wall, permanent marker over spiderwebs. As everyone leaves, the QR tattoo girl lingers. Her finger traces a knot's shadow. You recognize the shape. Same irregularity that sank Captain Cook's replica canoe in 1986. She snaps no photos, just nods, a silent pact with the grain. Fridge light catches your phone, weather app blaring sun icons. You ignore it. Bark's memory outlasts any forecast. Power tools stay silent tomorrow. Hands blister instead. The oldest app's skin on wood, now reinstalling itself in 1,000 throbbing palms. Your palms burn raw, splinters freckling the sandpaper's final grit. Sawdust clings to sweat-salted cheeks like powdered sugar on malasadas. The treat Portuguese laborers brought to Hawaii in 1878. Historians still argue whether Polynesian voyagers timed voyages to Koa flowering seasons or just followed monsoon winds. The debate feels distant now, irrelevant as a dropped stitch. You blow across the hull's curve, dust motes swirl like zero-gravity ash. Someone coughs, the botanist. Her dendrochronology tattoo peeks beneath a peeling sunscreen sleeve. Flightless bird bones, she says, nodding at the resin glob, sealing a knot. Ground them into the mix. Old Samoa technique. You don't ask how she sourced moa remains. Some secrets outlive extinction. Twilight stains the workshop violet. The QR tattooed girl arrives. No phone this time. Her hands cradle a coconut shell, brimming with ehudai from the forbidden grove. She whispers. No one mentions the landowner's lawsuit or the drone that spotted her midnight harvest. You dip a fingertip, red as volcanic soil, and trace a spiral on the prow. The gesture mirrors petroglyphs at La Perouse Bay, though modern hands skip the human sacrifices. Tradition adapts. The botanist adds 3 shark teeth, salvaged from a Vancouver souvenir shop. Better than plastic, she shrugs. Starlight invades through broken roof panels. Someone drags in the Bluetooth speaker. It gargles static before belting out slack key guitar. The app developer hums along out of tune while tying off Senate lashings. His algorithm predicted 12 knots. He's at 27 and grinning. You kneel to inspect the outrigger. Your thumbnail finds the fatal flaw, a whisper-thin crack. The girl sees it too. Without speaking, she rubs tama nut oil into the fracture. Grandpa's trick, she says, swore it mended his fishing skiff after Hurricane Iniki. The repair holds. Dawn arrives as a reluctant guest. Teenagers lug the canoe downhill, their footsteps sinking with Cretaceous-era coral fossils underfoot. The botanist lags behind, scattering breadfruit bark shards like breadcrumbs. For the Omacua, she explains, you don't question it, not when the sea's breath warms your neck. Saltwater licks the hull's belly, testing. You wait for the shiver, that split-second tremor before wood accepts its destiny. It comes as sunlight fractures the horizon, vessel creaking like an elder's knuckles. The girl wades in waist-deep, palms steadying the stern. Her QR codes blur underwater, ancestral data meets liquid encryption. Someone snaps a photo, the developer's waterproof phone flashing. The image shows only mist, a white smear where the canoe should be. He deletes it fast. You pretend not to notice. The sea guards her favorites. Paddles bite liquid glass. Each stroke peels back decades, steel ships dissolving into myth. The botanist points starboard, a humpback breaches. Its barnacled flank mirrors your hull's texture. Coincidence? The girl laughs, says it's approving the stitchwork. You half believe her. No one mentions the GPS wristbands, their red lights blinking like worried fireflies. Let historians puzzle over tomorrow's data. Tonight belongs to the Andromeda's reflection, a star map trembling on wave crests. The canoe surges forward, sudden as a sigh. Teenagers whoop their voices, swallowed by wind. You taste salt and something greener, maybe the forbidden grove sap. Or tears, doesn't matter. When land shrinks to a memory, the girl opens her palm, reveals a crushed monarch butterfly. Hitched a ride from the workshop, she says. Its orange wings flutter once, a dying metronome, before vanishing overboard. The botanist mutters about invasive species. You watch the insect fade a speck, swallowed by persimmon skies. Navigation apps fail at mile 13, just as the elders' journals predicted. The developer shrugs, tosses his phone overside. Dead weight, he says. No one protests. Polynesia's ghosts approve. You hear it in the wind's new pitch. Muscles burn, blisters rupture. No one swaps paddles for the Evinrude motor lashed below deck. Even the botanist rows now, her strokes erratic but earnest. You count constellations between waves. Maniakalani's hook dig, deep into the dark. A rogue swell nearly pitches the QR girl into the void. She clings to the ama, laughing through seawater coughs. Her grip holds. The outrigger barely shudders, that tama nut oil earring its secret. Midnight chills. The developer produces a ziplock of spam musubi, stolen from a 7-Eleven icebox. You eat cold rice, staring at bioluminescent trails. Tiny galaxies mirroring the real deal overhead. The botanist frets about microplastics. You remind her about the shark teeth, traditions never pure. Dolphins join at first light, streaking alongside like liquid mercury. Their clicks sync with paddle strikes. The girl leans out, trailing fingers through their wake. They're judging our hull speed, she warns. You believe her. Land announces itself as a smell first, wet moss and rotting guava. Then sounds frigate birds brawling over stolen fish. When the reef's turquoise razor appears, 7 paddles dig as one. No flags planted, just bare feet sinking into sand finer than baker's flour. You collapse above the tide line. The canoe, perched on coral, already weathering. Salt will blur its edges within weeks. The girl sketches it anyway, charcoal, on sunburned forearm. Temporary as everything. The botanist finds you later, smeared in reef mud and victory. She's chewing wild pepper leaves, a terrible idea. Naval architects, she slurs, still debate whether ancient lashings weakened or strengthened hulls. You hurl a coconut at her. She ducks, graceful as the humpback. At sunset, you ignite the leftover sennet rope. Flame tongues climb skyward, each pop a paddle stroke echoing into ash. No one mentions tomorrow's return flight or the chainsaw scars on the horizon. Stars emerge sharp as shark teeth. The developer points out Starlink satellites. You call them colonial canoes. He doesn't laugh. Still, his finger traces their path, mirroring your ancestors' gestures. Progress. You pocket a shard of resin, jagged edge pricking your thigh. Let it scar. Some maps need blood to stay legible. Waves murmur secrets the girl translates aloud. Driftwood roots, forgotten shoals, the texture of drowned continents. You pretend not to hear. Best to leave mysteries for the next crew, the ones already dreaming in their city apartments. Sleep comes sharp, a fishhook through consciousness. You dream of bark regrowing, seams closing, the canoe dissolving into forest. No, not dissolving, waiting. Rain arrives at dawn hot and saltless. Freshwater baptism. The girl stands chest deep, face upturned. When she submerges, her QR tattoos bloom reactivated. Codes unknown. You turn away. Let the sea rewrite what it needs. Your hands, blistered, trembling, find wet sand. They sculpt nothing. Just feel. The tide returns what it took. A single shark tooth, a Nokia phone crusted in barnacles, the butterfly's wing. You leave them. Tomorrow's problem. Tonight's tide chart glows on the developer's arm, a temporary tattoo of moon phases. He compares it to Jupiter's glare. Close enough, he decides. Someone replants the forbidden groves, sapling its bark, still soft as infant hair. You pour ehu dye at its roots, a circle within circles. Apology and benediction. When the helicopter finally comes, its rotor wind scatters your sawdust archive. Centuries of grain patterns swirl into sky, unreadable, unforgettable. The girl salutes the chaos. Seatbelt clicked, engines screeching. You press the resin shard deeper into flesh. Pain's a good scribe. The reef shrinks to a comma below. No one waves goodbye. Only the canoe remains salt-crusted and patient. A parenthesis, awaiting new words. Your phone buzzes mid-flight, weather alert. Category 4 cyclone brewing. You smile. Bark's last lesson, build for what comes after calm. Clouds swallow the island. You lean back, head full of star charts and shark teeth. The sea's approval hums in your fillings, ancient and electric. Sleep takes you gently, a canoe sliding into blackwater. No dreams. Just the smell of freshly cut koa, sharp as all beginnings. The helicopter's roar fades, replaced by tide whispers. You linger, sand seeping between toes, as the canoe rests on coral bones. Salt crusts its hull, each crystal a story, yet untold. The girl's charcoal sketch fades on her arm, temporary as dawn mist. Moonlight stitches silver threads through broken roof panels. Someone left the Bluetooth speaker, its dead batteries, humming no songs. The botanist's breadfruit shards sprout tiny roots, now green defiance in cracked earth. You trace the outrigger's curve, Tama, nut oil still clinging to fingertips. No cracks betray its surface, only the sea's patient signature. Waves murmur approval, each lap a lullaby. Starlink satellites blink, modern voyagers charting alien skies. You count their passage, noting how they mimic Orion's belt. The developer's moon phase tattoo washes off in the rain, ink swirling into tide pools. He shrugs, tosses the Nokia into deeper waters. Dawn bleeds gold through storm clouds, the forbidden groves, sapling drinks, ehudai roots thirsty for forgotten vows. Its leaves curl, cradling rainwater like stolen secrets. You kneel where the sawdust once swirled palms pressed to earth. No answers rise from the soil, only the ache of good work. Blisters scar over skin tougher than koa bark. When sleep claims you, it's on a bed of dried senet ropes. No helicopters here, just frigate birds stitching dreams to wind. The humpback's song lingers, a baseline for the stars. Rain returns, gentle now. It smooths the canoe's edges, erasing human fingerprints. The girl submerges, QR codes dissolving into liquid light. She emerges lighter, her laughter salt-flecked and new. You pocket nothing this time. Open hands catch only moonlight. The resin shard melts into shore, its map completed. Horizon blurs, island and sky merging into blue-black. You breathe deeper than the Marianas Trench. Let the cyclone come. These seams hold. Eyelids fall, not as endings, but as sails lowering. The ocean rocks you, a mother cradling navigation's oldest child. Dreams arrive as whispers, bark growing inward, hulls birthing forests, feathers carving flight paths through coral. You sleep not rebuilding, but becoming. Morning finds you salt-cured, a relic already. The canoe remains half sunken, half alive. You walk away, not looking back. Some journeys end in becoming tide. Final breath escapes, a whispered mahalo to the moon. The sea exhales an answer, its secret safer now. Rest comes not as surrender, but as the next paddle stroke. Darkness. Then the faint scent of koa sap. Distant. Insistent. A beginning wearing yesterday's skin.